on Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Welcome to Rogers Center. You can see there's a beach theme here this afternoon. It is Ballpark Beach Bash Day at Rogers Center. A lot of fans have been giving away Hawaiian hats. You can see the flowers on the Blue Jays baseball caps, and there are a lot of people having a good time out in the WestJet Flight deck. They're having a nice summertime. The roof is closed. There are rain showers in the area, so we'll play with the roof closed at least the start of this game. The Blue Jays have won the first 2 games against Baltimore, as the Orioles have slipped out of first place. They have gone through their first losing month of the season. They are 11-14 in July. Take a look at the lineup for the Orioles. Manny Machado, we know what he does against the Blue Jays. 19 for 43, hitting over 440 against the Jays this season. And they have a potent lineup up and down the order, and right behind Machado, it's Chris Davis against Aaron Sanchez. 6 for 12 with 3 home runs. In fact, Chris Davis hit the first home run that Aaron Sanchez allowed in his big league career.
Seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? 21st start of the season for Aaron Sanchez. Take a look at that earned run average, 272. That is #1 in the American League. He's won 10 consecutive decisions. He's the first Toronto pitcher to have a double-digit winning streak since Roy Halladay won 15 in a row back in 2003. His .917 winning percentage, second highest in the major leagues behind Steven Strasburg. Last time out, he was dominant. Just gave up 3 hits in 7 innings to San Diego, winning that 11th game of the season.
For Sanchez, he has pitched a lot against the Orioles. This will be his 6th big league start against the Orioles. He has made 4 starts against the Red Sox, but he has pitched against the Orioles more than any team as a starter. Top of the order, it's Adam Jones. He's 2 for 14 against Sanchez. Here's the first pitch of the game. It is in there for a strike, and we are underway. Jones with a couple of hits in yesterday's game. He was 2 for 4 in that ball game. 2 for 8 for the series, and he is quickly behind 0-2.
Well, he can't give up on that fastball in the outside corner, and then he can buzz it right in there. He's just getting better and better, I think, as the season goes along. The more he pitches, the more experience he gains. Aaron Sanchez is becoming very dominant.
95 just off the inside corner. Sanchez, truly one of the big surprises around baseball, not just with the Blue Jays, but for his consistency. Little broken bat pop-up, a flare to Sanchez, 1 down. Now Sanchez gets deep in the kitchen of Adam Jones to start the ball game. Let's take a look at the defense. In the outfield, it's Sanders Pilar and Jose Bautista. On the infield, Darwin Barney starts at third base. Tulowitzki and Travis up the middle. Edwin Encarnacion making his 35th start at first. Russell Martin behind the plate. 76th start for Russell. He'll handle Sanchez today.
You saw Darwin at third base. Don't worry, Josh Donaldson is in the lineup. He is DHing today. Darwin Barney will play at third base.
High fly ball to the left. Saunders was shaded toward the line. He is there. 2 quick outs for Sanchez as Kim flies out on the first pitch.
That's what you like to see. Quick at bats right there. You see Darwin Barney going to get his 14th start at third base. Josh Donaldson came up with a little bit of a hamstring problem in yesterday's ball game. So John Gibbons said, you know, he should be okay. He can be in the lineup as the designated hitter, but Darwin will play at third base. 14 starts. He hasn't made an error yet at third base.
He has committed all of his errors while playing second. He's a natural shortstop, so he's much more comfortable on the third base side. 2 quick outs. Manny Machado. This is how you want to face Manny Machado. 2 outs and nobody on. 307 for the season. Quality strike to get ahead from Sanchez.
Yeah, we will watch that. The one thing is the fastball 95. The second thing is the movement. The third thing is where those pitches are.
What's wrong with that one?
Looked like it might have been belt high.
Sanchez is using a few more 4-seam fastballs lately, and that looked like that last pitch. He just elevated the fastball. Wow. All of those pitches are good pitches, and he's not getting the call early on. Brian O'Nora, the veteran umpire, We talk about this often. Umpires don't necessarily see a pitcher very often during the course of a season. Ground ball, easy play for Devin Travis, easy inning for Aaron Sanchez. He retires the side in order on just 9 pitches. The first inning. Let's take a look at the Blue Jays lineup for John Gibbons. They are in first place by a half game over the Baltimore Orioles. Top of the order, Jose Bautista, Josh Donaldson, and then Edwin Encarnacion hitting .267 for the season. And he certainly has enjoyed his at-bats against Baltimore this year. 16 for 44. That's a .364 average. And down in the 7th spot, Kevin Pillar against the Orioles started this afternoon. Chris Tillman has hit 3 home runs, 7 of his 20 at-bats, 3 home runs, and 5 RBIs against the Orioles. Big righty Chris Tillman,
who is having a great year. 23rd start of the season for Chris Tillman. He's 14-3. He has tied with Jay Happ, Steven Strasburg, Rick Porcello, and Chris Sale for the most wins in the major leagues. 347 earned run average. He's thrown 132 1/3 innings this season. Chris Sale is 7-0 against the American League East this year.
Jose Bautista takes the first pitch outside for a ball. Bautista sitting at 299 career home runs. Trying to become the 10th active player with 300 home runs. Tillman misses down and away.
You know, Chris Tillman doesn't throw as hard as Aaron Sanchez. He's having a great year. I looked at the numbers of both Sanchez and Tillman, and they have arrived at the same place, throwing the exact same amount of innings and giving up the exact same amount of hits. Both of them come into this game with 132 1/3 innings pitched and 113 hits given up. They arrive differently. One's a power pitcher, one's got to rely on the changeup and the cutter.
Chris Tillman behind Bautista, 3-0. There's a strike at 92. Bautista 11 for 42 against Chris Tillman. He's got 3 home runs. There are 3 hitters in the Blue Jays lineup today that have each hit 3 home runs against Tillman. Bautista takes ball 4. Leadoff walk to start the inning. Well, there's no defense for a walk, and the Orioles have a terrific defense, so Tillman will want to avoid those base on balls. In the outfield, Kim back in left field for a second time in this series. Gold Glove winner Adam Jones in center. Mark Trumbull has 6 assists in right. Machado, Hardy, Scope, and Davis. Big-time defensive infield, and behind the plate, Matt Wieters for a 3rd straight start in this series.
Yeah, he's one of the best in baseball. In 2016 All-Star for the 4th time, but he's banged up. He's had some shoulder problems. You were talking about his ankle yesterday, but he's back in there again this afternoon.
Donaldson goes after the first pitch and swings right through it. As Pat mentioned, Josh is the DH this afternoon. A little bit of a hamstring issue yesterday. He was lifted after his final at bat for a pinch runner in the 8th inning. Line drive down the left field line. That's a foul ball. Bautista trots back to first. Josh Donaldson is third in the American League in total bases, and when you're on base as much as he is, you're going to have sore hamstrings from time to time.
Playing every day at third base, he's been banged up a little bit. I think everybody is. John Gibbons was talking about his team the other day. He says, you know, we got some guys this time of the year. It's almost August. They're banged up. So I can use that DH spot to give them half days off.
Get the ball down and away. It's 1-2 to Donaldson. Well, John Gibbons has more flexibility than he had earlier in the season with the addition of Melvin Upton Jr. He can rotate Upton in all three outfield positions and use that DH spot to give his regulars a break. Two and two. Blue Jays have really come on in July, hitting .265 as a team.
Great at bats. They've been having great at bats, getting themselves into hitters' counts, getting healthy, getting Bautista back helps. Tulowitzki getting him back, and he's swinging a hot bat. Russell Martin is swinging a hot bat.
Ground ball. Machado at third, second for one, back to first, double play. 5-4-3 double play. That'll bring Edwin Encarnacion to the plate. We're going to show you some numbers that might surprise you a little bit when we compare Bautista and Encarnacion.
How about this? This is for their careers, and their career paths are very similar. They didn't get a lot of playing time early in their career. They come to Toronto and they become superstars. But Bautista, 5,952 plate appearances. Edwin Encarnacion, the exact same number. And the home runs, very similar. Their paths to their stardom very similar, and they came to Toronto to become the superstars that they are.
They certainly have both blossomed while in Toronto. Bautista, two-time home run champ. Edwin Encarnacion has really flourished as a power hitter. He leads the majors this season in RBIs.
Hard to believe, but Edwin Encarnacion was actually released twice, basically. Blue Jays sent him down. Anybody could have had him. He ended up going to Oakland. They got rid of him, let him go. He came back to Toronto, and he has just blossomed as a baseball player. You could say the same thing for Jose Bautista. He spent, I think, 1 year with 4 different organizations.
That's a fair ball. Machado from his knee, not in time. Encarnacion with an infield hit. Well, we told you these are two of the best defensive ball clubs in all of baseball, and Machado took extra bases away from Encarnacion, but Edwin ends up with an infield single.
Blue Jays tied with Houston for the best fielding percentage in the American League. Right behind them, Baltimore Orioles. Manny Machado, he's got plenty of hardware down there at third base, but he can't stop Encarnacion, who's going to leg it out for an infield hit. Boy, there's defense everywhere on the diamond with both of these teams.
Lots of range at third, especially when Donaldson is there for the Blue Jays, and terrific athletes on both sides of the diamond. Michael Saunders. Michael's got a couple of home runs against Chris Tillman. In fact, the Blue Jays have hit 28 home runs against Tillman in his career. He has faced the Blue Jays. This is his 23rd career start. He's made 24 starts against Tampa Bay.
So I mean, when we were talking in the opening, the Blue Jays know all about Chris Tillman. This is his 12th start in this ballpark alone, and the Blue Jays have beaten him 6 times here.
So as a pitcher, how do you diffuse all that information that the Blue Jays lineups have against you?
Well, you better stick to what's working for you this year, because Chris Tillman's a different pitcher. He's developed a cutter this year that's a lot better. He's throwing his changeup a little bit differently this year.
Encarnacion at first, Saunders with a 1-1 count. Chopper off home plate. Tillman takes his time, and Saunders just barely out at first. The Blue Jays get an infield hit and leave a base runner. afternoon, Aaron Sanchez has reached a plateau. You see his innings total in 2016, the column on the right, 133 and a third. That matches his career high back in 2014 when he split time between the minors and the majors.
Blue Jays are not saying if there is a hard number for Aaron Sanchez in innings pitched this year. They probably have an idea, but they're not telling anybody. Generally, it's 20% more. So if you apply that number, you're talking about 150, 160 innings for Aaron Sanchez this year. If they go by that. Now, Aaron Sanchez is a little bit different this year. He's a lot stronger. He's under control. He hasn't had a lot of innings where he's had to labor through those tough innings. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Curveball inside to Chris Davis. It's 1-1. We mentioned Chris Davis is 6 for 12 against Sanchez for his career. He is the only batter that Sanchez has faced that has more than one home run against him. He has 3 career home runs against Sanchez. Ground ball foul. Davis hit a home run off of Aaron Sanchez August 5th of 2014 when Sanchez was just up from the minor leagues. That was the first home run that Aaron Sanchez has allowed. You can see it's been a struggle for Davis lately, batting 123 over his last 20 games. Boy, this is a very tight strike zone early on. Brian O'Nora, the veteran umpire.
Up and down, it seems like. You got to stick with Aaron Sanchez because his fastball moves so much.
Well, there are a lot of pitches that look like strikes, and Russell Martin has to be getting frustrated. What you do as a catcher when you have an umpire that might not have seen a pitcher a lot, you just tell him about how much movement Sanchez has.
Yeah, tell him to stick with this. Hey, his fastball moves. Take a look at this. Don't give up on it. His fastball moves so much, so does his curveball.
And it's hard. And it's 96, 97 miles an hour. And when you see it and you anticipate it's going to be off the plate inside, late movement will take it into the strike zone. Foul back. Full count to Chris Davis. You know, in the defense of the umpires, they make about 34 starts behind home plate a season, just like a starting pitcher.
Just like a starter.
So most of their time, umpins, is spent on the bases. Breaking ball, and Davis strikes out. First strikeout of the afternoon for Aaron Sanchez.
I was hoping he would show him something a little bit different than a fastball, though he got to that 3-2 count using his fastball. Now he's going to drop the curveball on him 3-2. Chris Davis struggling just a little bit lately. Will swing over the top of that one. That shows you some confidence in a young pitcher right there to throw a 3-2 breaking ball.
Well, Aaron's confidence is sky high right now. He believes he can throw any pitch anytime. Mark Trumbo pops up the first pitch, and that's back over the screen, out of play. Trumbo's had a tough series. He had a double in his first at bat here on Friday night to drive home 2. He's 0 for 7 since. Batting .270 for the season, with the major league leading 30 home runs.
He's in swing mode right now. 15 of those home runs have gone to left field, 11 to center field. He's hit 4 balls out in right field. This guy is some kind of strong right here.
Trumbo struck out 3 times in yesterday's game against Jay Happ. Happ really moved the fastball all around in the strike zone, in, out, and up and down.
Still got to be dangerous with this guy. Talking about home runs, he's hit 10 home runs with 2 strikes this year.
Checked his swing on the curveball. Sanchez wants the appeal down to the first base umpire, but he didn't get the call he was looking for. The Blue Jays have won 16 games in July. They are 16-7. Only the Cardinals in the National League have 16 wins. The Cards are 16-10 for the month of July. Here's the 1-2. popped him up right over Tabby and off the facade. You almost had one there, partner.
That one was right here. I was right here to catch that one. Just a little bit too tall. It's tough to get the ball all the way up here, isn't it?
Takes a man to hit him back this far.
This guy's a man right here. He's strong.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Sanchez. Well, there was so much concern about the Blue Jays starting rotation at the beginning of the season, and Aaron Sanchez has done his part to remove all those concerns.
Let's go back 4 months. Remember in spring training, oh, is he going to be a starter? Or, he's going to pitch his way onto the team as a starter. Well, he has taken that mantle and he has just run with it. He's #1 in the American League in earned run average at 272. And for my money, he's getting better and better every time out. You just see little things that he is doing that shows you that he's gaining experience and getting better. Like that 3-2 breaking ball to Chris Davis. He couldn't develop that last year when he was moved into the bullpen.
There's a curveball, and so far the curveballs that he has thrown look to be a little bit too much sideways. He has pulled a couple of those curveballs inside the lefty hitters.
And what he has done in his last couple of starts is he's thrown a bad curveball and they've come right back and thrown a good one while it's fresh in his mind.
Oh, that's a good pitch. And it's an easy delivery, and I think that's what Pete Walker's looking at. Keeping an eye on Aaron, seeing whether or not he labors to get that velocity, and there has been no signs of that. 1-2. He lays off that high pitch. That's a changeup at 89 miles an hour, and Alvarez was able to get a piece of it. Little nod in agreement with that last pitch from Pete Walker, the pitching coach, saying, yep, that's what I like to see, the growth and confidence of a young starter throwing a changeup.
Not afraid to use it against a power hitting left-hander.
Curveball, and Sanchez strikes out the side. Three of the best power hitters in the game, Chris Davis, Mark Trumbo, and Pedro Alvarez, all down on strikes.
Where this morning the Blue Jays woke up and found themselves with a half-game lead in the American League East. It's the first time they've been in first place since April the 4th when they were 2-0. If you look back to last year, the Blue Jays didn't get into first place until August the 12th, and when they did, they were only there for 2 days, fell behind, came back, and took over on the 22nd, and they were there for the rest of the year. I talked to a number of the Blue Jay players about that today, and while they're more than thrilled to be in first place, they also have things in perspective. They realize that there's a lot of season to go. And as Jason Grilli told me, it's not like we have a big lead. We're a half a game up. We would love a lot more of a cushion than that before we feel comfortable. Well, Tabby, these guys are all business. They don't look at things any differently right now than they did when they were 4 or 5 games out of first place. They understand there is still so much more to do.
Mary, that's a good job. There are so many leaders on this team. Nobody's going to let them get too big-headed about their half-game lead. There's so many baseball games left. This is one of the leaders, and you talk about a guy that has moved to a new team and taken over that mantle. It's Troy Tulowitzki.
He's taken his time as he got traded here about a year ago. Not forcing the issue, just coming to the ballpark, learning every day, learning the league, learning his new teammates, and now taking control of this team. Always has something positive to say to somebody.
Ball and a strike to the Blue Jays shortstop. Popped up high over the middle of the diamond. Scope, the second baseman, takes charge and makes the catch. 1 out.
Super Slow-Mo Cam. Brought to you by Rogers 4K TV. Get closer to the action with 4 times the resolution of HD alone.
This team has really come together. It's good to have Bautista back, and Jose is back in right field today. And this is the first week he's been back with the ball club after missing about 6 weeks with a toe injury. And yeah, you can look at his numbers and say, well, you know, his numbers are off. Yeah, they're off, but his presence in the lineup affects how Chris Tillman's going to pitch to this team.
Just makes it a little bit deeper. Tell you, Josh Thole is real happy that he is back too. That's the guy who was getting that rub down right there. That's got to feel pretty good. Marcus Stroman is saying, hey, what about me?
Next. This is Russell Martin. He takes a strike. It's 1-1. Martin had a big hit in that 7-run 5th inning yesterday. A first pitch double off the base of the wall in right. Drove in 2 runs. Blue Jays scored 7 runs on 4 hits and 4 walks.
Oh, I like where both of those doubles were hit yesterday to right field. He stayed on the pitches that were away. All right, now upset with himself. Thought he should have hit that fastball. Just fouled it back. But when you're staying on the ball like that, that front shoulder is staying in there. You're shortening up your swing. You're letting that ball travel just a little bit longer. And you have just a fraction of a second longer to track that ball.
Another swing, and this is out of play. Martin's second double came in the 7th inning, and it was more of a line drive down the right field line and a very well hit ball. 2 doubles in that ball game. He now has 10 for the season. You mentioned Chilman has added a cutter and a changeup. How does that affect what the hitters look for against the right hand?
Well, they got something else to think about. Last year he was basically fastball, curveball, and a changeup that would fade. He's throwing his changeup now a little bit more like Marco Estrada's. It's like more like a 4-seam type of changeup where the ball's coming up and he's creating backspin. He's just taking something off of his fastball. So his changeup has been a lot better, and his cutter has been a lot better this year as he introduced it.
2-2 now. Change up off the plate away. It's a full count. Bautista exchanging information with the hitting coach, Brooke Jacoby, talking about how Tillman is a different pitcher than they've seen the last couple of years.
Cutter. There's another changeup, and you see the difference of that changeup than what we saw in the past from Chris Tillman. It used to be a fading type of changeup where it would go down and away. Now he just takes some speed off of the ball.
Kevin Pillar waits on deck. There's a drive to the alley in right center. That's going to get past Trumbo all the way to the wall. Martin is headed for second. He'll stop there with his 3rd consecutive double.
All 3 of them to right field. We just finished talking about his swing to right field. Double off the wall, double down the right field line, now double in the gap in right center field, staying back just a little bit longer, shortening up that swing. That's how he stays on top of this ball. The bat stays above the ball and he drives through it to right center field. That is a thing of beauty right there.
11 doubles now for Martin. It comes with one out here in the bottom of the second. Kevin Pillar had a pair of 2-run doubles yesterday. First pitch fastball at 94. Pillar, you look at his season numbers, 268, 7, and 45, and he said, you know, I know my numbers don't reflect just exactly how I feel at the plate right now. He said, I really feel good. I'm confident. I have a good idea of how the pitchers are attacking me. Chopped off home plate, do or die from Machado, bare hand, not in time.
He looked good yesterday. Pillar with a couple of doubles, ringing doubles down the left field line. This time he's going to try and leg out a ball to third base. Interesting part about that play, because the third baseman is throwing it, Chris Davis, the first baseman, has to keep his left foot on the bag and can't really stretch for the ball. Normally you put your right foot on the bag and then stretch for the ball. He can't stretch because the throw is coming from the inside and he beats it out.
That's a great point. Had he had the ability to stretch, he can catch it about 3 feet further from the bag and maybe just enough to retire Pillar. So Blue Jays threatening to get on the board first and third against Tillman with one out. Devin Travis. They got that big 5th inning started yesterday with a solo home run. The Blue Jays were trailing 1-0 with one out in the bottom of the 5th when Devin Travis connected for his 7th home run of the season, and that started that terrific inning. Seven straight Blue Jays scored after Travis reached and hit that home run. Bautista walked, Donaldson walked, Encarnacion doubled. Saunders was given the free pass. Tulowitzki walked with the bases loaded, and Martin with a 2-run double.
Next thing you know, the Blue Jays have one of their highest scoring innings of the season. 7 runs. All started with this guy.
Ground ball. J.J. Hardy goes to second for one. Back to first. Not in time. Russell Martin scores. Travis legs it out, and the Blue Jays are on the board.
No doubt the Baltimore is going to take a look at everything here. They're going to look at the play at first base. They're going to take a look at the slide at second base by Pillar. But that's where I was concentrating. I was watching him go right into the bag. I don't even know if he touched Jonathan Schoop on that turn. That's what players do now. They go right into the bag and then hug the bag. Buck Showalter's out as he's waiting for his bench coach. Here's the play at second base. Hardy to Schoop. He goes straight in, and it looked like he beat it out. One more quick stretch. Let's see if he's on that bag before the ball hits. He's on before it goes into the glove, and they're not going to look at it.
Another RBI for Devin Travis. That gives him 26 for the season, and the Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead. Darwin Barney starting at third base this afternoon. 14th time he started third. 2 down. Barney hasn't faced Tillman a lot. He's 0 for 2. Playing in his 74th game of the season. Ground ball. J.J. Hardy hits short. Long throw in the dirt. Scooped by Davis, and the inning is over. But the Blue Jays get another double from Russell Martin. He comes in to score on the fielder's choice. 1-0 Jays for Aaron Sanchez.
here at the ballpark, and there'll be many more opportunities to visit Rogers Center in the month of August. What a slew of games, starting with the Tampa Bay Rays in August 8th through the 10th. The Astros come in from the 12th to the 14th. Then the Angels from the 23rd to the 25th, and the Minnesota Twins through the 28th of August. You can get tickets for all of those games at BlueJays.com, but I would suggest get them very fast, as once again, a sold-out Rogers Center, Buck.
Well, it's been a terrific run for the Blue Jays as far as their attendance goes, and they had another great crowd yesterday, 47,305. They had 46,000 here on Friday night. It is the place to be right now. Bottom third of the Orioles lineup, it'll be Wieters, Schoop, and J.J. Hardy against Aaron Sanchez.
We saw an inning like Aaron had last inning yesterday. Jay Happ's 7th inning was a lot like Aaron's last inning. Trumbo, Alvarez, and Wieters went down on strikes yesterday. Aaron pumped the ball by Davis, Trumbo, and Alvarez last inning. Now I'd like to see him get into a nice rhythm right here, having some shorter innings.
He threw 9 pitches to retire the side in order in the first. We mentioned Sanchez has now passed his career innings total. Fly ball to center, not that deep. Pilar is there and makes the grab. Aaron Sanchez has won 10 straight ball games, and you look at his last 7 starts, Pat, the numbers are very impressive in every category.
Yeah, how can you pitch any better than the way he has over his last 7 starts? A 153 earned run average, a whip. He's not walking anybody. He's pounding the strike zone with that explosive fastball. He's only allowed 2 home runs. He's also averaging just 15 pitches per inning, 6th fewest among qualified starters. That's about where you want to be right there. 15.
Yeah, the magic number is 15, and you stay around 15, you're going to pitch yourself deep into ball games. Little chopper. Sanchez tries for the bare hand and can't make the play. Schoop is aboard with the infield base hit. First base runner for Baltimore.
That's like his last start against San Diego. He gave up 3 hits, 2 of them infield hits. That fastball's exploding. You saw this. Ball's just topped onto the turf here. No plays can be made by the infield. In fact, excuse me, Buck, his last start against San Diego, only 6 balls left the infield in 7 innings against Aaron.
So the 1-out single now, J.J. Hardy, the number 9 hitter. Hardy in the series 2 for 7. He had a double here on Friday night, top of the fence in his final at bat in the 9th inning. Brian O'Neill is now getting used to the movement on Sanchez's fastball.
Not giving up on that fastball that time. Cuts the outside corner.
0-2. Fly ball to center. Another easy play for Pilar. He is there. 2 down. Well, the Blue Jays, they lead the majors in innings by their starters, and 2 of their starters have been terrific in the month of July.
Undefeated. We saw Jay Happ yesterday, 11 strikeouts, pitching into the 8th inning. Right behind him, Aaron Sanchez is undefeated in the month of July with great ERAs and great whips. Exploding fastballs from both of them, pounding the strike zone and keeping the ball down, just not giving the hitters a chance to square anything up.
4 wins in July give Happ 14 before August 1st, and he's the first Toronto pitcher to end up with that many wins before the 1st of August. Roy Halladay in 2003 was 15-2 before August 1st. So Happ is in pretty good company with Roy Halladay.
Was that same year that Halladay won 15 in a row? Yeah, 2003.
Jones behind, 0-2. Adam Jones hit a weak little soft liner back to the pitcher's mound his first time up. He is now 2 for 15 against Sanchez. Foul ball right to Devin Travis. It took a wicked hop, but he stayed with it. Got the force at second to end the inning. We'll go to the bottom of the third. 1-0 Blue Jays, and the big bats coming to the plate. Jose Bautista walked his first time up. Josh Donaldson, then Edwin Encarnacion. 1-2-3 for the Blue Jays.
Fans every Sunday at Rogers Center, the Blue Jays salute the Canadian Armed Forces, and today they salute Sergeant Michael Maruca. He is a 25-year veteran of the military and now serves at CFB Trenton with the Canadian Army Advanced Warfare Center. Sergeant Michael Maruca, today's Sunday salute. Now we know why Josh Thole needed that massage from Bautista, guys. He had to hold up that jersey.
He didn't expect to have to work today. Congratulations, Sergeant Maruca. A job well done. This is top of the order. Bautista takes a close pitch inside. That's that inside cut fastball. Checking with the umpire, Brian O'Nora. Jose walked his first time up. He was erased on a double play. Change up. It's 0-2.
That one faded just a little bit. Had a little bit more movement on his changeup. They've been waiting a while for Chris Tillman to do what he is doing this year.
This is his 8th season with the Orioles. He is 70-45 coming into this game. This is his 172nd career start. He's closing in on 1,000 innings for his career. We mentioned that for comparison's sake with Aaron Sanchez. Sanchez making his 32nd career start. Aaron's 20-9 for his career, 16-5 as a starter.
Each of these teams lined up their best pitchers for this series, knowing how important this series is. Tillman by far their best starter.
Curveball in. Bautista fouls it off. Blue Jays are 7-5 against the Orioles this season. They will have another home-and-home series. The Blue Jays will be in Baltimore at the end of August, and the Orioles will be here in Toronto at the end of September. Bautista putting up quite a fight here against Tillman. The final day of July, and John Gibbons Blue Jays trying to win their 17th game of the month. You figure if you average 15 games a month, that'll give you 90 wins for the season. That'll get you in the conversation.
It'll get you in the conversation. But lately, it doesn't get you the American League East title, at least.
Over the last 6 years, the winning team in the East has averaged 95.6 wins to win the East. Another foul back. The Blue Jays won last year with 93 wins. The Orioles won in 2014 with 96 wins. In 13, the Red Sox won 97. The Yankees won 95 in 2012. They won 97 in 11 as they went back to back. And Tampa Bay won 96 in 2010.
That's
a great at bat by Bautista.
Yeah, long at bat. This next pitch is going to be the 10th pitch in this at bat. We're talking about all those wins. 19 games against each one of these American League East teams. I mean, it's a meat grinder.
Full count. Line drive to the alley in center field. That's going to go up against the wall. Bautista is headed for second. Another double for the Blue Jays. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Well, the Blue Jays will take on Houston starting tomorrow night in a 4-game series down in Texas. And the Tigers walked off the Astros yesterday, and they're on the verge of sweeping Houston.
Verlander was great yesterday for Detroit.
He looks like he's back.
I'm glad we're done playing him.
Josh Donaldson with Bautista at second and nobody out.
If you're Josh Donaldson here, do you think about trying to move the runner early in the ball game like this?
No. I think you think about driving him in.
That's what I say. Hey, you're up there to drive in runs. You've had success against Chris Tillman in your career. Drive that run in.
Inside strike. It's 0-2. Yeah, I think there are times and places, but especially in the third inning, I think you want your RBI guys to drive them in.
Yeah, you start playing for the big inning in these situations. You get a leadoff double. You got 2, 3, 4 coming up. You're thinking about a big inning.
Now you may switch gears with 2 strikes and say, okay, I'm going to have a good at bat. I'm still trying to drive him in, but I'm going to drive him in with a ball from second base to the right field line.
Yeah, or right back through the middle, something where you stay on it. What you don't want to do is have an empty at bat where you don't at least move that runner to third base.
The Orioles continue to bunch the Blue Jays lineup in the outfield. Kim, the left fielder, is way over in the alley in left center. Same for Trumbo in right center. They're giving up both foul lines.
Blue Jays crossed up that strategy a couple of times in yesterday's ball game. Lots of areas down the left field line and the right field line for these hitters, if they can shoot for it.
Donaldson stays inside that pitch and fouls it off.
Just waiting just as long as you can. Right there to recognize the pitch that Tillman's going to throw.
As we mentioned at the outside of this game, this is the 23rd career start for Chris Tillman against the Blue Jays. He is 5-10 for his career. The only team in which he's made more starts against, the Tampa Bay Rays. He's made 24 starts against Tampa Bay. He has an 8-9 record against the Rays. Tillman hasn't finished too many of these at bats with fastballs. He gets 2 strikes. He's thrown changeups. He's thrown breaking balls.
He's tried his cutter a couple of times. He's tried his curveball.
There's a breaking ball outside, a full count.
And I'd stay with that same approach if I'm Josh Donaldson. Just react to the fastball.
Bautista at second with the leadoff double. His 16th double of the season. Encarnacion on deck. Strike 3. Donaldson caught looking at an inside fastball. One of the few times that Tillman has thrown fastballs with 2 strikes.
We were talking about 11 starts for Chris Tillman here, and the Blue Jays have beaten him 6 times. Take a look at that earned run average. They've really had their way with him. But again, I contend this is a different Chris Tillman this year. This isn't the same pitcher that they saw the last couple of years. He's got that cutter. He's got a little different grip on that changeup, and he's a different pitcher. He's a better pitcher this year.
1 out. Inside pitch, Encarnacion not really sure that that was a strike. Certainly it wasn't a pitch he wanted to swing at.
He'd be fighting that ball off of his body all day if he was swinging at that one.
He got to that pitch inside and hooked it foul. Encarnacion asked Brian Odor, the home plate umpire, was that a strike as well? Just making sure that he was seeing it correctly. Little tapper out in front of home. Wieters throws out Encarnacion. Edwin. He's hit a couple of squibbers out in front of home. This time he's thrown out by the catcher. Mentioned Chris Tillman in his 8th season with the Orioles. Started out in the Mariners system, and you can see from last year to this year he shaved about a 1.5 runs off his earned run average.
Last year the fastball wasn't doing a whole lot, and he had that big breaking curveball that you could recognize easily. Now he's dropping that curveball on an ERA's at 3.47. He's just a different pitcher. He's a better pitcher this year. Blue Jays have seen him one time and he beat them through 5 innings, gave up 4 runs, but he won because Blue Jays gave up 8 runs. He got 8 runs of support to beat him back in June.
Trying to pitch around that leadoff double off the bat of Jose Bautista. He struck out Donaldson and got Encarnacion the ground out. Michael Saunders hit a comebacker to the mound his first time up. Two and 1 now to the Blue Jays left fielder. Chris Tillman, this next pitch will be number 59. Blue Jays have made him throw a few pitches early in this game.
Made him work. He's been laboring. Let's go pitch there.
Blue Jays lead it 1-0. Devin Travis with an RBI on a fielder's choice. He knocked in Russell Martin, who had doubled with 1 out. Martin was at third after a Kevin Pillar infield hit. Blue Jays are 5-3 on this homestand. It's the 9th game of the homestand, and will be the final game before team heads out on the road. Houston for 4, Kansas City for 3.
You know what they've done? They've had a month of July where they played a lot of home games, and they've taken advantage of that. You've been saying how they have a chance to have a big month where they're taking advantage of those home games.
Chris Tillman strikes out Saunders. The Blue Jays can't cash in on a leadoff double. Here comes the Ultimate Cleanup Crew, brought to you by Home Hardware's exclusive line of the Ultimate hard-hitting and tough-on-grind cleaning products.
Fans, follow Blue Jays Baseball live on your phone and tablet with the MLB.com @BAT app. Customize at BAT to feature the Blue Jays and stay up to the moment at any moment with scores, news, live game video highlights, and much more. Download MLB.com @BAT. It's your #1 app for live baseball. Let's get you back to Buck and Pat.
Thank you very much, Barry Davis, as we move to the 4th inning. 1-0 Blue Jays lead it. Aaron Sanchez looking for his 11th straight win as a 1-0 lead. Hyun-Soo Kim flied out on 1 pitch his first time up. I spoke to Kim through a translator earlier in the season, and I asked him about Major League pitching. What's the biggest difference? He said the biggest difference is velocity and movement. And that's Aaron Sanchez to a T.
To a T.
Playing in Korea, we had pitchers that threw hard, but their fastball didn't have dramatic movement like Sanchez. He said, I see movement and velocity every single day in the big leagues.
There is a definite period of adjustment when the players come over from the Asian countries. We had that discussion with Minnesota. Park, I believe his name is.
Kim sneaks it past Devin Travis into right field for a leadoff single here in the 4th.
He's had his problems coming over here dealing with the velocity in the movement. No problems that time for Kim.
The Rogers Cup is wrapping up. The ladies are in Montreal. The men will finish up things here in Toronto this afternoon. Manny Machado with a man aboard. Manny grounded out to second in the 1st.
Oh, he's got that dialed in right now. That fastball to the right-handers down and away. you're going to get your share of ground ball outs if you stay down there.
Ground ball. Barney at third, second for one, back to first, double play. Nice play at third by Darwin Barney. Good turn at second by Devin Travis. Barney had to back up and give himself a good hop.
Yeah, not every bounce that comes your way is going to be a good hop, so you have to make the good hop. Darwin gives ground just a little bit and then gives a good feed over to second base, to the delight of Aaron Sanchez. He knows when that fastball's working, he's going to get his share of ground ball outs. It's a big one right there against a tough hitter.
Plus, it gives you 2 outs on 1 pitch. That's always a benefit for a starting pitcher. Barney making his 14th start at third. Devin Travis had committed just 1 error at second. This is his 46th game at second. Chris Davis struck out on a curveball his first time up. And Encarnacion with a nice play. Shovels to Sanchez. An easy inning. Leadoff single erased by a double play and a 3-1 ground out. No problem for the Blue Jays. Good defense once again behind Sanchez. This time it's Double E over at first to close out the O's. What's coming up on the schedule ahead. It's brought to you by WestJet, and we'll take a look at this schedule coming up. It's the Astros starting tomorrow night down in Houston, a 4-game series. It'll take us through Thursday, and then the Blue Jays will go to Kansas City, take on the Royals, a 3-game series. Right back at home against Tampa Bay, and the Blue Jays will head out, and they had a tough time last time they went down to Houston. Deep drive to left field. Stay fair, ball. It is a home run for Tulowitzki.
Well, we've already seen 1 fifth-deck home run in this homestand. Troy Tulowitzki came that close to hitting another one. It looked like it went off the facing of the 5th deck. It was high and it was deep down the left field line, and Tulo has got a home run number 18. And that's one you can remember. That was a blast.
No doubter. And it's 2-0 Blue Jays. That home run is the 20th home run that Chris Tillman has allowed here at Rogers Center. And this is a thing of beauty for the Blue Jays. That ball moved inside just a bit, and Tulowitzki was able to keep it fair.
That looked like it might have been a changeup right there, and it stayed out over the plate. And watch Tulo get every ounce of this one. The only question was it going to be fair or foul? That's off the 5th deck.
Home run Number 18, RBI number 52 for Tulowitzki.
I was talking to him the other day, and I said, "Did you change your bat?" He said, "Yeah, when we were in Colorado, I had my buddy Nolan Arenado send a couple of bats over, and says that they're the same type of bats, but I just like them, the same style of bats that I was using before." And I'll tell you what, he has taken off offensively.
Isn't that interesting? And you've seen that over the years, how a guy will pick up a certain bat, and it might be the same model bat that you were using, but it has a different name on it. It's got a little different feel on it, and all of a sudden things start to click.
Yeah, he said it's basically the same type of a bat that he was using, but he says it's got a different feel to it. And it's working. Whatever it is, it's working. Here's what it looks like. Tulowitzki heads back down. That's the bat he's using right there. He asked him to send over a couple to see how they felt. Hit a home run in Colorado, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did. And of course, they were teammates for a long time in Colorado. So now you got to call up the bat company. Said, "Send me some more of those Arenado bats." When I was playing in winter ball many years ago, Frank Robinson was our manager, and Don Baylor and I were roommates, and we had Frank order bats for us using his name.
How was the wood?
The quality of the wood was incredible. You get a Hall of Famer ordering bats, and they make sure they send him nothing but the best. Full count to Russell Martin. That's down and away for a ball. Chris Tillman has now given up 29 home runs to the Blue Jays for his career, 20 of those right here at Rogers Center, and that ties him with James Shields, who spent a lot of his time with the Tampa Bay Rays in the AL East.
And he'll give up his share of home runs. Tommy Hunter, 13 of them. He's a relief pitcher, but he's given up his share over here. And David Price has given up 12. That's as a opposing visiting player, David Price, in this ballpark.
Kevin Pillar, 1 for 1. Pillar's average now at 270. Tillman's moving the ball around fairly effectively. He's pitched the Blue Jays lineup this time through the order inside a little more with the fastball.
Yeah, and the ball's sinking more than I have seen Tillman throw in the past. Especially in on those right-handers. They've been fighting it off.
Another fastball. And that's how you're successful as a starting pitcher. You have to be able to show the lineup different approaches second and third time through the order. There's so much information and so much information exchanged in between innings that you've got to be able to make adjustments. Ground ball. Hardy steps on second for one, back to first. Double plays. Second double play turned by the Orioles this afternoon.
Swing for the fences and save during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Devin Travis drove in the first run of the ball game back in the second inning with a fielder's choice. He knocked in Russell Martin from third. Chases that high fastball. It's a ball and a strike. Chris Tillman is the ace of the Orioles. He's trying to stop this losing streak. The Orioles have lost 5 in a row. Blue Jays are trying to sweep them in this 3-game series.
They had a great month of June. Not so much here in July, the Orioles.
Baltimore was 19-9 in the month of June. And Tillman strikes out Travis. That ends the inning, but Troy Tulowitzki with a home run has given the Blue Jays a 2-0 lead. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zaun in the Samsung broadcast studio.
Here today at Rogers Center, but still a great time to be enjoying those big comfy green chairs in the TD Comfort Zone. And today we welcome guests of TD. Meanwhile, over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse, some excited folks from the Boys and Girls Clubs of London, Ontario, having a great time at the ballpark today. Buck?
A lot of people having a great time at the ballpark lately here at Rogers Center. Blue Jays trying to finish up strong on this homestand. They're 5-3 in the first 8 games of this 9-game homestand. Barry Davis mentioned the roof is closed this season. With the roof closed, the Blue Jays have a 10-14 record. Kind of surprising. They're 23-9 when the roof is open.
I think that has to go back to April, right, when it was closed, and Blue Jays did not get off to a great start this year. They weren't hitting. They were losing some really tough ball games, if you remember that. 6 walk-offs, 6 different ways in the first 6 weeks of the season.
Sanchez with a hot shot back to the mound, retires Trumbo for the first out.
You know, one of the facets of the game that doesn't get talked enough about the Blue Jays is their defense. They've been playing some great defense. Aaron Sanchez is going to get this one if he didn't. Looked like Devin Travis was right there to make the play also to retire that first batter. But the inner defense has been sensational for the Blue Jays.
Aaron's a very good athlete, and he finishes up in a good fielding position, and even those hard hit balls he's able to make plays on. Pedro Alvarez goes after the first pitch and skies it a mile high. Tulowitzki, the shortstop on the first base side of second, makes the catch in the outfield. Well, that's another thing that Sanchez has created over the course of this summer. He's created a swing mentality from the lineups that he's facing. They go up there and they say, hey, this guy throws a lot of strikes. Let's get ready. And they see a lot of first pitch swings when Sanchez is on the mound.
He's going to challenge him with that fastball early in the count. And that'll help you keep your pitch total down and help you get deeper into the ball games.
Two outs, nobody on.
It looked like Matt Wieters right there was taken all the way, didn't it?
He understands the value of trying to make Sanchez throw a few more pitches. Curveball down. 2-1 to the Orioles catcher Matt Wieters. Wieters will be a free agent after this season. He was a free agent last year, but the Orioles gave him a qualifying offer and he accepted it. He was coming back from Tommy John surgery and didn't have a full season.
He's a great target to throw to. Gold Glove winner, takes control of the ball game. Can hit a little bit. Switch hitter. Switch hitting catcher. There's not a lot of those around.
2-2. Upstairs way too high as Russell had to come out of his crouch to make the catch. Jonathan Schoop had a swinging bunt in the 3rd inning. He will bat if Readers can keep the inning alive. Sanchez allowed no runs on 2 hits, a couple of ground ball base hits.
Boy, a little defensive swing right there for Matt Wieters. Where'd you go now to try and get him out? Do you try and drop a breaking ball on him right here, or you go upstairs?
I think you stay with the fastball. He's got so much movement on his fastball. It's a 2-run game. You walk Wieters, and then the tying one comes to the plate. He threw a changeup and missed, and walks Matt Wieters. So he'll get a fresh count with 2 outs to Jonathan Schoop. Much like the Blue Jays, the Orioles have dangerous bats down in their order. Schoop has 17 home runs.
These two teams are so similar, aren't they? They've got power plus. They can score at any time, and a rally can come from anywhere from both of these teams.
Aaron Sanchez has allowed 20 home runs in his young major league career. The Orioles have hit 8 of those 20 home runs.
Hard to believe. I don't know if they've seen the type of sinker on that fastball that they've seen this year from Aaron.
Ground ball up the middle, base hit for Jonathan Schoop. He got jammed a bit, was able to fight it off and hit it through the middle. He's 2 for 2.
Pretty good pitch from Aaron Sanchez. Fastball explodes on his hands, but Schoop fights that one off and hits it in a good spot. Look at the side spin as that ball comes off of his bat. Pass Sanchez right over the bag. No chance for Travis to pick it up. And like I said, rallies can come from nowhere. 2 outs, nobody on. You got 7, 8, 9 coming up, and now they've got a couple of runners on.
Well, the Orioles are a very explosive lineup. John Gibbons knows that. And the 2-out walk to Wieters. He is now at second, and Schoop with his second hit off Sanchez at first. Number 9 hitter is J.J. Hardy. You can't overlook Hardy. Sanchez came out of his delivery there. We've seen that a couple of times in this inning. Wants a new baseball.
Fastball up and away. I wonder if that one slipped out of his hand. Right after that, he started shaking his hands like his hands are very wet.
Two 2-0 to J.J. Hardy. Sanchez has missed a couple pitches upstairs, and the Blue Jays keeping a very close eye on Aaron here. High pop-up. This should end the inning. Encarnacion moves out of the way. Travis, the second baseman, makes the catch in foul ground. Aaron Sanchez gets through 5 innings. He leaves with a 2-0 lead.
Again with the #1 rated travel rewards card in Canada. It's the WestJet RBC World Elite MasterCard. Visit rbc.com/WestJet to apply today.
Aaron Sanchez has allowed just 3 hits, 3 singles today, and after the inning, he and Pete Walker went down into the tunnel, having a little conversation. Sanchez kind of lost the strike zone. He walked Matt Wieters with a 3-2 changeup, and then threw a couple pitches up to J.J. Hardy. So we'll keep an eye on that. Tillman drops a curveball in there for a strike to Darwin Barney.
Pitchers will go down in there. It's a little bit cooler also down in that tunnel on a day like today with the roof closed. There's just not a lot of air movement, so it's very hot, very dry here. A little bit cooler down in the tunnel. They can also talk some strategy down there, what they want to do next inning.
0-2 to Darwin Barney. Fights it off and stays alive. 9-1-2 for the Blue Jays here in the bottom of the 5th. They have a 2-0 lead over Chris Tillman and the Orioles. Troy Tulowitzki had a leadoff home run in the 4th to make it a 2-0 game.
Staying up on Darwin. He's trying to knock the bat out of his hand with that high fastball.
Well, sinker there, and he gets Barney first out of the bottom of the 5th for a strikeout.
The checkered flag event is back, celebrating over 50 years of racing heritage in every Honda. Now is a great time to get into the all-new Civic.
It is the Ballpark Beach Bash Day here at Rogers Center, so there's a beach theme going on all around the ballpark. Jose Bautista has had a perfect start to his day, a walk and a double. He was stranded at third back in the 3rd inning after a leadoff double. Tillman pitched around that very effectively with a couple of strikeouts. Bouncing ball. Machado takes his time and throws across the diamond. 2 outs. Of course, the trade deadline is tomorrow, and the Orioles have been linked to the Phillies. Jeremy Hellickson, the starting pitcher who has pitched in the American League East in the past with Tampa Bay, has been linked to the Orioles and the Giants, and is the possibility of he being traded before the trade deadline tomorrow.
There's all kind of rumors going around, aren't there?
Well, I thought the one that was the most amusing of all was the Vince Velasquez rumor. He's a young right-handed power pitcher that the Phillies got from Houston. And there were some reports that he was going to be traded, and it made no sense whatsoever. First of all, he's a great-looking young pitcher, and the Phillies have control of him for another 5 years.
That's the one. That's the part right there. On top of being good, they can control him.
Yeah.
Control his salary. Not going anywhere.
Makes $500,000 for the next 3 seasons.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to have that guy on their team?
Two and 1 to Donaldson. And Sanchez back on the dugout bench. Continues to look at that middle finger of his pitching hand, and that's generally the location where you start to get concerns about a possible blister. That's the last piece of your hand that touches the baseball, and that's the one that gets the most resistance, and that'll get a hot spot, and that'll turn into a blister if you don't take care of it.
Yeah, last finger that touches the ball, it just spins right off of that middle finger. So Aaron taking a look at that, shaking his hand out just a little bit.
You can see there's a lot of perspiration on his forearm. It's muggy in here. It's a high fly ball, not that deep. Trumbo. is there, and Tillman retires the side in order. We'll go to the 6th. The Blue Jays trying to sweep the Orioles. They have a 2-0 lead.
Fans, so far our Friday Fan Festivals have presented country music, rock music, and now on Friday, August 12th, we'll have our first DJ Showdown. It will be the Blue Jays and the Astros. Patio opens at 4:30. You can go to BlueJays.com for tickets. As Friday Fan Festivals presented by Bacardi return. And Tabby, I know you're a rocker, but I'm thinking that Buck is really looking forward to this DJ Showdown.
Lots of great music on Fridays, Barry, and they really capture the imagination of the audience. They come here early and have a good party outside the Rogers Center. Then they move the party inside. And how about this? Happy flippin' 80th birthday, Graham. Congratulations, and we're glad you're here as part of this great crowd on this Sunday afternoon.
Nice little Jose Bautista image there, right? Flipping that bat.
Adam Jones fouls it off. Speaking of that bat flip, how about the new hockey video game we saw where a goal celebration includes a player copying the Jose Bautista bat flip? It's pretty cool.
Flipping the sticks.
Flipping the stick.
Yeah.
Fastball right past Jones. Sanchez, they mentioned last inning, he had a little bit of trouble after he walked Wieters on a 3-2 changeup. A little bit of trouble. He's shutting out the Orioles on 3 hits. How much trouble can it be?
Just a temporary missing of the strike zone, right?
High fly ball to left. Saunders backing up, but he's got plenty of room in front of the warning track. Jones is retired. He's 0 for 3. Well, Aaron Sanchez has surpassed his career high in innings pitched, and I think it's very interesting, and he has talked about it often. In his career in the minor leagues, they oftentimes would piggyback starters. In the Midwest League, when he was teamed up with Noah Syndergaard, Justin Nicolino, and
Anthony DeSclafani,
they would piggyback them. That means one starter would go 3 innings one time, and then the next starter would come in relief behind him and pitch 3 innings. So their pitch count was always down and their innings total was always limited. So that's why Aaron never really threw more than that 133 and a third innings limit that he has surpassed here this afternoon. And that was the philosophy of the Blue Jays at that time. Ground ball. This time Travis is there to take a hit away from Kim.
To finish that thought on the piggyback, then if you started and you were teamed up with, let's say, Syndergaard, then Syndergaard would start the next time, and then you would come in relief. And it was just to keep your innings down as they were growing. They were both 18 years old, very young players, and they were just growing into their bodies. Things might have changed, though.
They have changed dramatically, I believe, in the organization. I watched last night Sean Reed Foley pitching in Dunedin, pitched 6 2/3 innings, allowed 1 hit and threw 99 pitches. And he's an A-ball. I think that's terrific. And Reed Foley is one of the real good pitching prospects in the minors, and they're allowing him to pitch. And when you throw 100 pitches, and if you're going to use that as your standard, you're going to allow a pitcher to get tired. You're going to allow him to understand how movement increases as you fatigue in the course of a game, and you're going to understand how to close out innings. I think it's terrific.
And how to fight through when you're tired.
Yep. Manny Machado with 2 outs and nobody on, and that's been the case all afternoon.
Aaron talked about that with us earlier this season, that felt like it I don't want to say it stunted his growth as a pitcher, but it slowed it down just a little bit. That he wasn't able to work up to those 100 pitches or 100 innings. I'll take this finished product, though. They were doing something right.
Oh, nice play by Barney at third. He pulls a little Manny Machado on Machado. A good defensive play on the backhand. An easy inning for Aaron Sanchez. Barney making his 14th start at third. Looks like he's been there all season long. Jeremy, that's a terrific note. Andrew Miller has gone from New York to the Cleveland Indians. And the Indians thought earlier that they had acquired a catcher. Matthew LeCroy was traded to the Indians. And he turned down the trade. He had a no-trade clause, and he asked the Indians to exercise an option for next season, and they refused to do that. Now, according to some reports, it appears as though Milwaukee has turned its focus on the Texas Rangers, trying to convince
Jonathan Lucroy down there.
Jonathan, I said Matthew, of course. Jonathan Lucroy. But yeah, it's an interesting development, and it's kind of curious that a player wouldn't want to join a pennant race, but at the same time, he's going to be a free agent if they don't exercise his option next season.
Wouldn't you want to do that with a playoff team?
I would. But I tell you what, as a catcher, moving mid-season and trying to get up to speed with a new pitching staff is a real challenge. And that Cleveland Indian pitching staff is very talented.
Yeah. Wouldn't you want to catch them, though?
You wouldn't want to catch them, but at the same time, maybe you would be exposed.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought.
So if you're going to be a free agent and you go to a team that's noted for a pitching staff being so good, and all of a sudden you have problems catching that team, you're going to become less valuable on the free agent market.
I wonder if they'll still try and work that out, though.
I think it's done.
Got about 24 hours, right?
I think it's done. I think Cleveland says no thank you.
No. All right.
Well, good sinking fastball, and Encarnacion strikes out. One down in the bottom of the 6th.
This Blue Jays Rogers 4K broadcast is powered by the Samsung 4K SUHD TV.
But certainly there are going to be a few more deals, you would imagine, before the trade deadline hits tomorrow. And Matt Kemp went from San Diego to Atlanta in a very curious move. Of course, San Diego has been sloughing off all of their contracts. The Blue Jays got B.J. Upton. James Shields went to the White Sox earlier.
Fernando Rodney, Andrew Cashner, Colin Ray, Matt Kemp. Wow.
Yeah, they're paying a lot of money for players that won't play there next year. I figured out they're paying $24.5 million to 3 players that won't play for them next season. Upton, Shields, and Jed Jerko. Melvin Upton Jr. is happy to be with the Blue Jays. He is in a pennant race and had a little frustrating afternoon yesterday as he struck out and then broke his bat over his knee, but he's going to be a good player and an important part of this team down the stretch. Saunders called out on strikes. That outside breaking ball, backdoor breaking ball, gets him.
Second time
strikeouts.
Yeah, second time this afternoon that Michael Saunders has struck out. He might have an argument on that one. That was a cutter that they backdoored on him. The last one there, number 4, looked like it's off the plate. Michael might have had an argument, but that's the way it goes.
Troy Tulowitzki hit a monster home run his last time up off the facing of the 5th deck, just inside the foul netting down the left field line. Brooke Jacoby, the hitting coach, has really marveled at the way Tulowitzki has come on since he's returned from the disabled list. He said, I go down the cage, I throw him a few soft tosses, and he's ready to go.
Yes, he hasn't hit on the field for a while. Comes out here, stretches with the team, takes the ground balls, gets his hitting done in the cage. Of course, Bryce Harper did that last year, and he had a pretty good season. And I agree with him. You don't have to come out here every single day. You're on your feet, taking batting practice every single day. Go down there, get yourself loose, see the ball, track it just a little bit, and then come out here and play the game.
Inside pitch he fights on. You know, certainly as you are a younger player, you feel like you have to go through every routine to get prepared to play. But now Tulowitzki's played so long, he knows his body. He knows he goes out, takes his ground balls, gets loose, feels his body is ready, and takes a few soft tosses in the cage, and he's ready to go.
Would you rather win batting practice or the game?
Oh, I always won batting practice.
That's just the way I look at it. This time of the year, yeah, you and I, we wanted to win batting practice.
That's when we did most of our best work.
At 5 o'clock. But this time of the year, you're an everyday player, and you're playing a very important position at shortstop. I want a healthy and strong Troy Tulowitzki.
Yeah, as fresh as possible, that's for sure. A ball and 2 strikes, 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th. Boy, look at where all those pitches are. They're really working him inside. Tulowitzki homered on Friday night in the 1st inning. He hit a breaking ball, one of 3 home runs the Blue Jays hit in the 1st off of Kevin Gausman. Look out, right on the hand. That ball kept tracking in on Tulowitzki.
Well, you noticed that they were pitching him inside. Everything was inside. And they went back in there, and unfortunately, Tulo couldn't get that right hand out of the way. That is his throwing hand. Fastball in, tries to pull the hands back. Right on the thumb. You could see him go out to hit and then tries to pull back as he recognizes that. He just doesn't get his hands out of the way enough. Takes it right off the thumb. Listen to this. You can see Tillman, he was upset with himself that he didn't mean to do that. Fastball just got away from him.
Boy, that hurt. Looked like it hit him maybe on the index finger and the thumb on his right hand. And boy, that's how fragile a season can be. One pitch, you never know how a hitter's going to come out of being hit by a pitch. Same situation for a pitcher. Jay Happ gets hit with a line drive into Oakland on the forearm, and everybody on the Blue Jays bench holding their collective breaths. Darren O'Day, a great relief pitcher, loosening up for the Orioles. We have not seen O'Day in this series to this point.
We had a quick shot right there of John Gibbons looking over his lineup card, trying to determine if Tulo can't finish this game, what his options are for an infielder on the left side.
There's only one option. That's to lose your DH and put Donaldson back at third base.
That's exactly right.
Blue Jays only have 3 bench players, so they have 4 with Smoke, but no extra infielder.
That's right. Smoke is at first baseman.
At this time of the season, everybody just trying to stay healthy. Tulowitzki was on the deal with a quad muscle injury. And you can see he's grabbing his right thumb. That's apparently the digit that took the brunt of that pitch. 2 outs, 2-0 count to Russell Martin.
Chris Tillman, I think, has been pretty effective with that fastball in the inner half against these right-handed batters. He has sunk the ball in there. He just hasn't really given them anything to hit on the inner part of the plate.
Blue Jays only have 5 hits. Bautista hit a double and Tulowitzki hit a home run.
George Poulos getting ready. Get the tape out. Just in case he's got to give some tape to Tulowitzki.
3-1 to Martin. Right on the corner. Full count, 2 outs. Kevin Pillar waits on deck. Tulowitzki at first will be running on the pitch. Tillman has thrown 110 pitches.
He has a season high of 120. That was against Boston about a month ago. Ball 4.
Buck Showalter is out of the dugout. He's already made the call for the bullpen, so Chris Tillman's day will come to an end. A 2-out walk to Russell Martin, the last batter he will face this afternoon. It is a 2-0 Blue Jays lead. Kevin Pillar is the batter. Darren O'Day, the sidearmer, will come in to work with 2 outs and 2 on. The Blue Jays have a 2-0 lead. We are in the bottom of the sixth, 2 outs, 2 aboard. Darren O'Day makes his first appearance of the season. It's his 25th game of the season.
The Orioles missed Darren O'Day. Spent about 7 weeks on the disabled list from June the 3rd to July the 24th with a right hamstring strain. He is one of their better relievers, and we figured we would see him in the game. Sidewinder, little sinker, slider. He's inherited 4 runners this year. None of them have scored against him.
O'Day missed with the first pitch to Kevin Pillar. Tulowitzki's at second, Martin's at first. Blue Jays trying to add to their lead. Popped up near the mound. Chris Davis, the first baseman, gets there, and the inning is over. O'Day puts out the fire in the 6th. They'll go to the 7th. Blue Jays have a 2-0 lead. George Tulowitzki hit by a pitch. George Poulos, the head trainer, has got some tape. They're going to see what they can do to help him out after he was hit by a pitch from Chris Tillman on his right hand. He went down and apparently got some work done as he comes back out, checks with the manager. You can see he's got his right hand and thumb taped. That's kind of an awkward situation, of course. The thumb provides stability on your throws. And Tulowitzki made some throws during the half inning and pronounced himself fit to go, so he is there at shortstop.
Still looking at it. Made some throws. He's over on the right side of the infield on the shift, so a little bit easier throw if he gets a grounder here.
Chris Davis goes after the first pitch and fouls it out of play. You know, Pat, it might be a blessing in disguise that they were able to tape it up as quickly as they have. Maybe they can keep the swelling out of it.
Keep it down?
Yep.
You got to figure that that's what's going to happen. Oh, I never like to see guys get hit in the hand area like that, finger area. I mean, you're talking broken bones then.
That tape job looks like a cast. 1-1 to Davis. Downstairs, it's 2-1. No activity in the Blue Jays bullpen. Aaron Sanchez has thrown 76 pitches to this point. He continues to be very efficient. Missed with that pitch. 3-1 now. Pete Walker keeps a chart in his hand. How many pitches they throw, how many pitches they throw in an inning. And Davis walks. That's the leadoff walk here in the 7th.
The all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Blue Jays wrapping up this homestand. They are 5-3 so far on the homestand. We have to remind you that the Orioles are a very good late inning ball club. They've scored 158 runs in the 7th inning or later this season. That's the 3rd most in the American League, and they've hit 47 home runs in the 7th inning or later. They're tied for the league in the American League, so they are a dangerous team in the late innings.
Yeah, that's why right there, because they can hit home runs up and down that lineup.
He went after that pitch, and that's confirmed by C.B. Buckler down at first.
They've really kept that fastball up on Mark Trumbo the last couple of days. Pounding it up, Jay Happ got him 3 times yesterday with high fastballs, all of them swinging.
Oh, 0-2. Hot shot past Barney into left field. Saunders trying to cut it off. His throw is going to come into the cutoff man. This Trumbo has his 2nd double of the series. And just like that, the Orioles have the tying run in scoring position at second.
That's why they call it the hot corner right there at third base. Mark Trumbo, the big, strong, right-handed hitter, gets an 0-2 fastball and pulls this thing right by Darwin Barney. Watch this one. If he comes up with that one, then you know it's his day, but that one gets by him for extra bases. That was on him quickly.
20th double of the season for Trumbo, and all of a sudden the Orioles are knocking on the door here in the 7th. That's just their 4th hit of the afternoon. Pedro Alvarez takes one upstairs. Alvarez 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Ground ball, that'll get a run home. Travis goes to first as Davis comes in to score. That leadoff walk comes around to score. Now it's a 1-run game. Joaquin Benoit is now throwing in the Blue Jays bullpen.
Right after that double by Trumbo, John Gibbons gets him up, and now good situational hitting by the Orioles. Got the run in, got that runner over. Now the Blue Jays infield has to come in against Matt Wieters.
Wieters is 0 for 1 with a walk. He took a 2-out walk in the 5th. He goes after the first pitch. Sanchez, since the 5th inning, has thrown a few more pitches up in the zone than I think he would like. He hasn't been able to really bury that ball down in the bottom part of that strike zone.
Wonder if that's by design, you know, against some of these hitters, to get them to pop it up with runners on base. He ended up walking Matt Wieters last time.
That was a high target from Russell Martin on that pitch. Then again, we don't know exactly the extent of the concern Sanchez has over that middle finger. We saw him looking at that thing back in the 5th inning after the top of the 5th. Curveball tapped foul. 1-2.
Yeah, you can put high fastball in the mind of those hitters with his great curveball. That's the pitch I think he could use to get the strikeout, and he needs a strikeout right here.
Sanchez has 3 strikeouts in the ball game, and they all came in the 2nd inning. He struck out the side. He needs another one right now. That's lined down the right side into the seats.
He threw him the breaking ball right there, but did you see how nice and easy he threw it? He didn't try and bury it. He didn't try to overthrow it to get the strikeout. He just took a nice, easy approach right there and threw a good pitch.
Another pitch upstairs by design as Wieters lays off that high fastball. Pete Walker checking on the status of Joaquin Benoit. He should be ready. He's had plenty of time to get loose. Changeup lifted in the air. That's going to score a run. Trumbo's tagging at third. Here's the throw to the plate. Not in time. And Matt Wieters with a sac fly has tied it at 2-2.
Went with the changeup down and away, trying to get Wieters to roll over on that ball, keep the ball on the infield. But Wieters does a good job of staying back and just slowing his swing down. And he's strong enough to just lift that ball into the outfield.
2 more runs in the 7th inning for the Orioles. Gives them 160 for the season. They have been a good ball club late in games to score runs. Jonathan Schoop is 2 for 2. He has half of the Oriole hits this afternoon. We thought it would be a pretty good pitching matchup. Chris Tillman with 14 wins. Aaron Sanchez, the ERA leader in the American League, and it has played itself out very well.
Yes, it has. That's where you got to play great defense. You can't beat yourself.
Ground ball. Tulowitzki. Let's see how he can throw. No problem. Tulowitzki throws out Jonathan Schoop, but the Orioles score 2 runs on a double and a walk. It's a 2-2 game headed to the bottom of the 7th.
That contest, you could win a spot to play on the field at a Blue Jays fan camp in September. Visit participating Boston Pizza locations. Enter when purchasing any Budweiser and burger combo. Go to BlueJays.com/BudBP for contest details and rules. Let's go to the bottom of the 7th with Buck Martinez and Pat Kabler.
Thank you very much, Barry. It is a terrific ball game. A 2-2 game as we head to the bottom of the 7th. The Orioles have scored 2 runs on 4 hits. The Blue Jays 2 runs on 5 hits. Darren O'Day took over with 2 outs in the 6th and was able to get Kevin Pillar to pop out to end the inning. Chris Tillman goes 5 2/3, and he is now off the hook. He gives up 2 runs on 5 hits.
It's a good bullpen for the Baltimore Orioles. Darren O'Day has been a little bit of a nemesis for the Blue Jays in his career. He's 5-0 in his career against Toronto. They just haven't been able to square up any of those pitches from him. They've only hit 205 against him. You can see why.
Hot shot bobbled by Machado, but he's able to grab it and throws out Devin Travis, one down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Troy Tulowitzki with the home run that came in the 4th inning, his 18th of the season. But the Orioles have tied it up now. It's 2-2. Darwin Barney playing at third base this afternoon. 0 for 2 so far in the game. Little pop up. Chris Davis into foul territory. First baseman makes the catch. O'Day has retired all 3 batters he's faced.
A couple of pop-ups and a ground out. O'Day tough on righties with that sweeping slider, and he could also run that fastball inside on you. They really missed him when he was out for 7 weeks or so with that hamstring problem.
Well, you mentioned the Blue Jays don't hit much against O'Day. Everybody but this guy. Jose Bautista, 7 for 18 against O'Day with 4 career home runs. Amazing how Bautista's been able to do so much damage against one of the tough setup pitchers in baseball.
Yeah, since the start of 2013, his ERA is just 190, 5th best among qualifying relievers. That doesn't seem to faze Jose Bautista. He's hit some big home runs off of him.
Breaking ball stayed inside. It's a ball and a strike. 2 outs. We're in the bottom of the 7th in a 2-2 game. Aaron Sanchez, a leadoff walk and a double, and they both came in to score. Boy, Bautista has to have the ultimate confidence facing Darren O'Day because of the success he's had.
He must be able to see the ball out of his hand because he's not even moving on those pitches, not even offering at him.
This is a good guy to get Bautista going. Hitting 143 since coming off the DL. Well, you're right. He's not even flinching. If it's not a strike, he won't offer. It's 3-1 now. And a tough pitch down and away. A little bit of a sink. Just 86 miles an hour, but in a good spot.
The deception and movement are the keys for Darren O'Day.
3-2 to Bautista. You saw Josh Donaldson waiting on deck. Bautista with 299 career home runs. He stays alive. Bautista walks. Second time he's walked today. He's officially 1 for 2 with a double. That'll bring Josh Donaldson to the plate. Donaldson 0 for 3. He is hit into a double play and struck out. Donaldson has a home run. Check that. Donaldson is 3 for 12 against O'Day without a homer. Went around on the breaking ball. Bautista with 1 stolen base this season. But obviously O'Day, aware of the situation in a 2-2 game, forces him to dive back in.
You know what he doesn't want him to do is get a big secondary lead. That's why he threw over there. Doesn't want to get that big secondary lead because he doesn't want him scoring on an extra base hit. Jose doesn't have a big lead at first base.
And a breaking ball, it's 0-2. Matt Wieters has thrown out 34% of the base stealers this season, but lately he's been bothered by a sore shoulder. Might not be a bad gamble to try to guess here, see if you can't get a breaking ball and get Bautista to second.
Especially since there's 2 strikes on Josh Donaldson.
If he gets thrown out, Donaldson would lead off the next inning. Bautista with a short lead. He was breaking. Ball is popped in the air on the left side of the infield. Hardy, the shortstop, calling for it, and the inning is over. A 2-out walk, and the Blue Jays strand a base runner. Will go to the 8th. It's a 2-2 game. Joaquin Benoit coming in for the Jays.
Finals of the Rogers Cup this year, and just a reminder, the finals are coming up on Sportsnet 4 o'clock Eastern. It does not feature Milos this year, but he's here enjoying his Blue Jays. And Buck and Pat, interesting change to the Blue Jays defensively right now.
Well, it sure is, as Troy Tulowitzki was hit by a pitch, and he has left the game. First of all, we've got a new pitcher into the ball game. It's Joaquin Benoit to start the 8th inning for the Blue Jays. He takes over for Aaron Sanchez.
Third time that we have seen Benoit as a Blue Jay. There are his numbers with Seattle and Toronto. 1-1, 478 earned run average. But the big development is what's happened to the left side of the infield.
Now, when Barney started at third base, he's now at shortstop. Troy Tulowitzki is out, and the DH, Josh Donaldson, is taking over defensively at third. So Tulowitzki made 1 throw. That was on the scope ground ball to end the 7th, top half of the 7th, and he is out of the game. (9-1-2) for the Orioles against Benoit. Breaking ball. Barney at short. 1 down. So Aaron Sanchez will keep that 10-game winning streak intact. He will get a no decision after throwing 91 pitches, covering 7 innings this afternoon.
That's unfortunate because he was on his game again today. 7 innings, just 4 hits, and a couple of earned runs. Those runs were manufactured by the Baltimore Orioles last inning. Leadoff walk, a double. They moved him over and had a sacrifice fly, so Aaron will pick up a no decision this afternoon. Still hasn't lost since April the 22nd.
I think the big thing, too, was how efficient he was. Sanchez pitching 7 strong innings, throwing just 91 pitches. Adam Jones hits one off the end of the bat. The Blue Jays have fortified their bullpen with the addition initially of Jason Grilli, and then now they've added Joaquin Benoit. Guys that can pitch in crucial situations in tight ball games.
Yeah, they've done it before. They're veterans. John Gibbons likes those veterans who've gone out there and done their thing in these tight situations. He was talking about that the other day, as opposed to young kids not real familiar with this. There's another veteran, Brett Cecil. He's been through the wars.
Benoit is in his 15th big league season. He is 39 years old. He and Jason Grilli are the graybeards down in that bullpen, and they are really reliable. You can see Benoit shaking off the pitch. He wants another selection from Russell Martin. Now he's set. Fastball up and away. Adam Jones 2 for 11 going up against Joaquin Benoit for his career. There's a split for a strikeout. Great weapon for Benoit.
Swing for the fences and save during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Two down. Hyun-Soo Kim. The left fielder's 1 for 3 and a ground ball base hit in the 4th off Sanchez. Splitter cued off the end of the bat. Donaldson not in time. Josh Donaldson fresh into the ball game defensively. Made a nice play, but not much of a chance to throw out Kim.
Blue Jays are going to take a look at this one, but you could see from the replay, great play by Donaldson. Strong throw, but Kim's across the bag. Difference between that one and the one earlier, as Donaldson makes that play, Encarnacion was able to stretch for it, made it very close. One more time, watch him hit the bag right there. You see, he didn't jump at the bag, he just glided through the bag, so he's going to have an infield hit.
Pete Walker again in communication with the bullpen. Chris Davis, the lefty, is behind Machado, and they've got Cecil ready for that matchup. Manny Machado 0 for 3. The wheels are spinning here in this 2-2 game in the 8th inning. Blue Jays trying to sweep the Orioles. The Orioles trying to snap a 5-game losing streak.
We haven't seen the best pitchers that the Orioles have to offer out of their bullpen. We haven't seen Britton. We're just seeing Darren O'Day for the first time.
Oh, a check swing tapper, and that's a thing of beauty for Benoit. Manny Machado out 1-3 to end the inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It's a 2-2 game. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Samsung broadcast studio.
Eyes on Sportsnet. Presented by Honda. The checkered flag event is back, celebrating over 50 years of racing heritage in every Honda.
Another one of the great arms coming out of the Orioles bullpen is Brad Brach. He had a clean inning of work on Friday night in the 8th inning. He retired to side in order with a strikeout. He's on in his 2-2 game.
Second time that the Blue Jays have seen Brach. He's got some good stuff, and he's nasty on righties. He's a 2016 All-Star. This is his first career All-Star selection. He leads the club in appearances with 46. It's the 8th inning, so Brach is in the game. He's got 18 holds this year.
Tough part of the lineup for Brach. Encarnacion, Saunders, and then the pitcher's spot as Troy Tulowitzki has been lifted out of this game. The Blue Jays have given up their DH today. Ezequiel Carrera has a batting helmet and a bat. Looks like he's going to come on. Mighty cut from Encarnacion. 2-1 now.
You can see why Brad Brach is so tough on right-handers. He starts over there on that third base side. He's got that herky-jerky motion. Throws 95. Got a changeup and a slider. Tough to pick the ball up on this guy. He's got 6 wins out of the bullpen.
Edwin hit a walk-off home run off of Brach earlier in the season to right field. An extra inning home run. But Brach is very tough on the right-handed hitters. Righties hitting .083 against Brach. 8 for 96. Just 2 home runs allowed. That was popped up.
That was the pitch to hit it with. Just out of the reach of Chris Davis. That was a mistake right there by Brad Brach, and he got away with it.
Two and two to the leadoff man here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Brach has allowed 3 home runs all season. Brett Lawrie, Edwin Encarnacion, and David Ortiz have all homered off Brach. Really only 3 home runs. The walk-off home run was on June 10th here at Rogers Center. Popped him up. Shallow right field. Chris Davis backpedaling into the outfield. Gets there and makes the catch. Encarnacion's retired. Well, Michael Saunders now. Well, step in the box with 1 out. Saunders is 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts.
Orioles are playing the shift on Saunders, looking for base runners. Looks like they're going to try and take the bunt away from him. That's Manny Machado creeping in at third base.
Remember, the pitcher's spot is next for the Blue Jays as Troy Tulowitzki was taken out of the ball game after he was hit by a pitch and stayed in the game and completed in half inning defensively. Ezequiel Carrera has grabbed the bat. He's on deck. Base hit for Saunders. Hustling around the bag at first. Jones gets it in cleanly, and Michael Saunders has a 1-out single.
That's what you want to do, I think, if they're going to play 3 infielders on one side of the infield and just 1 on the whole left side. Take advantage of that and go the other way. Look at it. All you have to do is get it by Manny Machado, and he does cleanly into the outfield.
So Carrera has been announced into the game as the pinch hitter for the pitcher. First pitch breaking ball, and Carrera's way out in front. Carrera's 1 for 2 going up against Brad Brach. Berto Osuna, closer, loosening up for the Blue Jays.
Carrera's done a good job this year of bunting for base hits. He might have a shot here.
Yeah, saw Osuna loosening up in the Blue Jays bullpen. Chris Davis, Mark Trumbo, and Alvarez are the scheduled batters. Inside 2-1.
Looks like they're committed to Osuna even if they don't score.
It appears as though they're not going to go to Brett Cecil, who was warming up anticipating a matchup against Chris Davis. Foul tipped it home. Ezequiel Carrera is 0 for 5 as a pinch hitter. He's batting .259 on the season.
He looked like he was trying to take that breaking ball and pull it in the hole. You can see Chris Davis holding Michael Saunders on at first base. Infield creeping towards second for a double play. Like he was trying to yank it to right field.
Full count now. You start the runner here?
That's what I was thinking myself. Stay out of the double play. You're counting on Carrera making contact. I think the Blue Jays have to be aggressive here.
Yeah, I would start the runner. Create some movement on the infield. Maybe you'll open up a hole. Saunders is not running, and it's a good thing as Carrera strikes out. So John Gibbons put the hold on, and it was a good call. Pitch hitter strikes out. Another breaking ball from Brad Brach.
Yeah, 36 out of 47 appearances now. He has struck out at least one batter. That's a 3-2 breaking ball out of the strike zone. Too close to take. And Carrera goes down.
Russell Martin. Russell's had a perfect day at the plate. He doubled and scored in the second and has walked in the 4th and 6th inning. This is a perfect guy for Martin to take the other way. He has been doing a good job of driving the ball from the right center alley over to the right field foul line, and Brach pitches right-handed hitters away.
Well, I'd love to see the swing that he put on in the first at-bat, that double to right center field. That's where he likes to throw his fastball. That's also where he likes to throw that breaking ball.
Good fastball, 95, and oftentimes when you see a sidearm pitcher, they won't have that kind of velocity.
No, that's why this guy's an all-star. He was picked by Ned Yost, but he did not pitch in the game. But he is tough on righties.
There goes Saunders. Martin fouls it into the seats, and Saunders will retreat back to first. He had a good jump.
They were guessing breaking ball. Russell had to protect the plate.
Two balls and two strikes. But Showalter's team trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. They have lost 6 games in the standings to the Blue Jays since the start of July. Ball gets away. Saunders is hit by it. Might have hit him right in the ribs, and that's why he wasn't able to bounce up and take off for second.
You could hear that too. That ball hit him. They gave the sign, the universal sign, to throw over there, and Brock goes 95 and drills. Michael Saunders trying to dive backside of the base. It gets away. Let's see where it hit him. Yeah, right in the ribs. Listen to this.
Here's Saunders reaching up and asking the first base umpire for time. 2-2, 2 outs to Martin. Brock strikes him out. Blue Jays will strand a runner in the bottom of the 8th. We'll go to the 9th. It's a 2-2 game. Roberto Osuna coming on for the Jays. Drive of the Game is brought to you by the all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
4th inning, Troy Tulowitzki is going to lead off against Chris Tillman and say goodbye to this one. Changeup, high changeup down the line for Tulowitzki right off the facing of the 5th deck. That gave the Blue Jays a 2-0 lead. Tulo circles the bases with his 18th home run of the season in our drive of the game, and unfortunately for the Blue Jays, Tulo gets hit right on the thumb and has to leave this ball game. That's why we are playing without the DH now. Tulo played a half an inning when the field made a throw and then came out of the game.
Now you can bet he is getting some x-rays taken on that right hand just to see the extent of the injury. This is Roberto Osuna. 47th time this season. He throws a first pitch strike to Chris Davis.
Looked like he threw him a changeup on that first pitch, just in case Chris Davis was looking for that fastball on the first pitch.
Davis drew a leadoff walk to start the 7th. He came around to score the first Oriole run. Orioles scored 2 runs in the 7th. Davis led it off with a walk, and then Mark Trumbull doubled. Alvarez had a ground out RBI, and Matt Wieters a sac fly. 2-2 game. Broken bat, taking a shot the other way. Stayed on that pitch down and away, but broke his bat, and it was just foul.
You know, that's the argument, I think, against the shifts right now. Do you shift against Chris Davis when you've got a pitcher like Roberto Osuna on the mound? Do you try and protect the hard hit ball, or do you try to protect the soft hit ball like we just saw. What's going to happen more often with Osuna on the mound? You're going to get a softly hit ball because his stuff is so good. That could have been dangerous for the Blue Jays if that thing stayed fair.
1-2, and it's a changeup that misses low. 2-2. That's a great argument, and obviously most teams will set up their defense to guard against hard hit balls. That's why they play Davis to the pulled side. Plays off that high pitch.
The question is he going to get a hard hit ball off of Osuna, or is he going to get a soft hit ball? What are the chances? I think you have to take it another step.
Full count. 97 at the knees, and Davis gets a piece of it to stay alive. Chris Davis is 0 for 10 in the series. Blue Jays have pitched him tough. 0 for 11.
He didn't want to challenge him that time with a fastball. He gave him this 1-3-2 fastball, and he missed it. Osuna goes back to the slider here. A couple of strikeouts this afternoon for Davis. That's 6 times now in this series that the Blue Jays have struck him out.
Mark Trumbo had a double in his first at bat in the series, had a double in his last at bat in the series. He scored the second Oriole run in the 7th inning. Well, that's a good slider. 90 miles an hour.
I think they're realizing what these 2 home run hitters are trying to do right here, trying to untie the game.
Trumbo is 2 for 11 with those 2 doubles in this 3-game series.
He's swinging hard, isn't he? Came up empty on that fastball.
Strike 3 on a changeup. Osuna strikes out Davis and Trumbo. 2 down.
How about that? Slider for strike 1, fastball for strike 2, and then he throws this changeup. Locks up Mark Trumbo. He just freezes at the plate.
Pedro Alvarez just missed low. Alvarez has an RBI. He's officially 0 for 3 this afternoon. Blue Jays won 6-5 on Friday night, 9-1 yesterday afternoon, and it's a 2-2 game in the 9th. Popped up. Martin will watch it sail out of play.
7 one-run games. Blue Jays have been involved with the Baltimore Orioles this year. Told you these 2 teams are evenly matched. The scores usually reflect it in the ball games.
And today we figured it would be a pitcher's duel, and it's turned out to be exactly that. Tillman and Sanchez, both starters. Fly ball. Saunders jogging in, shallow left field. Osuna retires the side in order in the 9th. For the Blue Jays, it'll be Kevin Pillar, Devin Travis, and Darwin Bonnie. Bottom third of the order. Zach Britton, the great closer, coming in for the Orioles. Zach Britton appearing in his 46th game, and look at those numbers. 32 for 32. He's saved 34 consecutive going back to last season.
He's the only reliever with 30 or more saves and a 100% save percentage in Major League Baseball. It's a pretty simple approach for Zach Britton. Here's my fastball. You can't hit it. Thing drops right off of the table. He was an all-star. In fact, he got the save in the all-star game.
Kevin Pillar takes the first pitch outside. Britton throws hard. He's got a fastball similar to that of Aaron Sanchez.
Yes. Thing moves all over the place, and you can get his share of ground ball outs. 97 with movement. So if you're a hitter, you can't really think about hitting home runs, because he just doesn't give them up. And you got to think about putting the ball in play, trying to hit line drives.
Two balls and a strike.
That's great.
They've never seen Superman and Pillar in the same room together. That's a good one. 2-2 count on Kevin Pillar. One for 4 for Pillar against Britton. Wicked strike. Trigg gets away. Wieters throw to first in the dirt, scooped by Davis. Nice play by Davis to take that short hop throw at first to complete the strikeout.
Yeah, nice play by Wieters also. He got on that ball quickly. Didn't think he really had a shot at all of getting Pillar. Watch this thing just drop straight down. Pillar gets on, or excuse me, Wieters gets on it. Throws the ball over to first base, and what a pick by Chris Davis. One more time, this one's going to come right into your living room. Quick snap, pick it over at first base to get the out. That's
good
defense
reaction by Wieters.
Yep.
And Chris Davis, he doesn't get the credit for his defense, but he's a good first baseman. Devin Travis gets jammed on that first pitch. Zach Britton has given up 1 home run this season. That was to Mookie Betts.
Probably in that hot streak that Mookie went through when he hit something like 4 home runs in 2 games. I think that's why you can't think about home runs against him, because he's just too tough. It's too tough to get the ball in the air against him.
Ground ball. Machado takes an easy hop. 2 down. Well, you're right. It's difficult to string hits together against Britton. There's that bowling ball sinker up there. It's hard to square it up.
Tough to get it in the air. That's why I think you have to think about line drives. Make him get the ball up, number 1. Make him get it up, number 2. Think about line drives. I think you're playing right into his hand when you start thinking about home runs and getting the swings a little bit longer, pulling your head.
Number 9 hitter Darwin Barney fouls it off his foot. Barney never left the batter's box. He thought it was fouled off his foot. Brian O'Nora never reacted as if he thought it was a foul ball. It looked like he was going to call it fair or foul where it ended up. Jason Grilli loosening up Osuna. Had a good inning in the 9th. Ground ball, Scope from the outfield. Easy inning for Zach Britton. Will go to extra innings in this 2-2 game, the series finale.
The pack includes a reusable Blue Jays jersey tote bag, stainless steel kids water bottle, a Blue Jays blow-up baseball bat, a Blue Jays hat, and a Blue Jays pair of shoelaces. Get your pack today. Visit bluejays.com/broadcast auction. We are going to extra innings, Buck and Pat, and not a single person seems to have left their seat here at a sold-out Rogers Center.
Why would you leave a game like this? Jason Grilli comes on to start the 10th inning. The Blue Jays are 4-6 in extra inning games. The Orioles are 4-2 in extras.
Each manager matching wits here, moving their chess pieces around the board. Jason Grilli, usually we see him in the 8th inning in front of Osuna. He's going to follow Osuna this afternoon here in the 10th inning.
Well, Osuna had Davis, Trumbo, and Alvarez. So you bring your ace in to pitch to the meat of the order, and Osuna handled them flawlessly. Matt Wieters takes the first pitch strike from Grilli. Wieters tied it up with a sac fly in the 7th. His 39th RBI of the season. Wieters done a good job of laying off that high fastball. Blue Jays are throwing a lot of pitches up, trying to get him to chase.
Yeah, they kept going there in that last at bat, and then threw him a changeup, and he stayed back. They were hoping that he would get out there and just roll over on that changeup. He had a good 2-strike approach. That's why we're here in the 10th inning. His at bat.
Jim Reynolds down at third. The crew chief waving the safe sign indicating no swing from Wieters.
They had him set up for that slider, but Wieters stayed back on it.
Benoit, Osuna, and now Grilli out of the Blue Jays bullpen. From a slider, and Wieters takes a walk. Jonathan Schoop will come to the plate now. Scope's gone 2 for 3 so far in this ball game. The leadoff walk issued to Davis was costly for Aaron Sanchez. That was in the 7th. Davis came around to score. First of 2 runs the Orioles scored in the 7th.
Warriors don't sacrifice a lot. They've only had 10 sacrifice bunts this year. It's a team that slugs it out.
Just like the Blue Jays.
Yep. Showalter letting one of his better hitters hit here.
Schoop waves at that breaking ball. Really ahead 0-2. Remember, Troy Tulowitzki's out of the game. He was hit by a pitch back in the 6th inning. He stayed in for the top half of the 7th, but then had to leave the ball game. So Barney's playing short. Donaldson began the day as the DH. He's a third now. Barney's natural position is shortstop, and he still says that's his favorite position to play. He's played it his whole life, and he feels most comfortable once he's at shortstop.
With the pitchers hitting, and that might factor into it next inning.
Both strikes out.
Kept feeding him the sliders. 4 of them right there to get Schoop. Came into this game with 17 home runs, hitting .280. That slider just bends far enough away from that bat. Really keeps that streak alive of striking out at least 1 batter per appearance.
J.J. Hardy, the shortstop, in the 9th position for the Orioles.
Be careful with Hardy. He might be hitting 9th in this lineup, but he's been around. A veteran. He's been swinging a hot bat this month.
He had a double off the top of the wall in left field in the 1-run game on Friday night. That came in the 9th inning against Roberto Osuna.
That came really close to tying up the ball game. Hit a pitch on the inner half, so it looks like they're staying away from him. In the month of July, he's hit .367 against righties. Got to make a pitch.
Popped him up into center field. Kevin Pillar drifting back, and he gets there and makes the catch. Wieters all the way down to second. He will retreat back to first base as Hardy's retired on the fly ball to center. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Cashner went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, just 1 earned run, and on just 4 hits. Ichiro Suzuki.
How'd he do?
0 for 1 as a pinch hitter. Still looking for 2 hits to get to 3,000. Adam Jones late on a fastball. Jones is 0 for 4. Adam is 2 for 12 in this series. Really came right back with another high heater. Outside. The Blue Jays trying to sweep the series against the Orioles have done a great job of keeping Jones and Davis in check.
Boy, have they ever. Usually those two are doing something special against the Blue Jays, hitting home runs. Jones is 0 for 4 this afternoon.
Calling it a strike, but it's off the plate away.
He backed off like he was going to, and I think that's why Jason stepped off the mound towards the third base dugout.
Jones and Davis are 2 for 23 in the series. Ground ball. Barney at short. Will go to second for the force out. Grilli closes out the Orioles in the top of the 10th. The Blue Jays have had 5 walk-off wins this season. Top of the order when we come back as Grilli strands a base runner in a 2-2 game. Buck Showalter came into this series with a half-game lead over the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have leapfrogged into first place. They have 59 wins. The Orioles are a half-game behind. Boston 2 games back of the front-running Blue Jays. John Gibbons and Buck Showalter matching wits in this 2-2 game as we are in the bottom of the 10th inning.
This whole series has felt like a playoff series, hasn't it? It's still a long way to go. 2 months of baseball to go for the Blue Jays and the Orioles, but this has a feel of playoff baseball, a lot of intensity.
Zach Britton out for his second inning of work. He has thrown an inning in 2/3 twice this season before this game. 4 times this season he's pitched more than an inning. He's retired the side in order in the 9th. Bautista, Donaldson, Encarnacion for the Blue Jays.
Couple of ground outs. That's his specialty right there. And if you're Jose Bautista, he can bring that ball up. You know you're going to get that sinking fastball.
Bautista 2 for 8 against Britton. Ground ball, Schoop at second. 1 away. Ground ball, that's his bread and butter.
Yes, it is. Travis grounded out, Barney grounded out, and now Bautista grounds out. That's why it's tough to get the ball in the air. They're always hitting on top of the baseball.
Josh Donaldson 0 for 4 this afternoon. He was 2 for 3 in the game yesterday with a couple of walks. Took an over on Friday night. Brett Cecil loosening up. Benoit, Osuna, and Grilling, 3 innings of relief, have allowed just 1 hit. O'Day, Brock, and now Britton for the Orioles. The bullpens are matched up very effectively. The Orioles bullpen has allowed just 1 hit as well. Three and 0. Meat of the order for the Blue Jays. Trying to sweep the series against the Orioles. Donaldson takes it outside for ball 4. Back in June, right here at Rogers Center, Brad Brock on the mound. Edwin goes opposite field to walk off the Orioles.
Yeah, he can knock it out of any part of the ballpark against a very tough pitcher, Brad Brock. He's got another tough one here on the mound this afternoon. It's Zach Britton. Can he do it again?
Edwin is a very good low ball hitter. That's where Britton's going to pitch him.
He was thinking extra bases right there. It may or may not come to. Remember, this pitcher spot is just a couple of batters away.
Troy Tulowitzki was taken out of the ball game, and Donaldson had to move into the game defensively at third base. So the Blue Jays are playing without their DH.
You know, Buck Showalter's thinking about that. So is John Gibbons. Thought I saw Melvin Upton moving around in the bullpen, or excuse me, in the dugout a little bit, getting a bat. He might be the hitter of choice if it gets down there.
You can see all the hitters focused on Zach Britton. Two and one now. Edwin Encarnacion with 34 career home runs against the Orioles. The most he's hit against any one ball club. Oh, right on the corner. 98 miles an hour with movement.
With movement, late movement, and he puts that one right on the corner.
Ground ball foul. The Orioles have done a great job with Britton as he started out as a starter. Came to the big leagues in 2011 and made 28 starts for the Orioles. He bounced back and forth between the minor leagues and the big leagues. 2012, 2013 he made 7 more starts, and then they moved him to the pen in 2014.
He had some injuries in his career that really derailed him a little bit. And then came back from those injuries. And a lot of times he was having trouble finding the strike zone, and they put him on the strings. If you remember that, spring training strings, throw it through the strike zone, and he's found the strike zone. He's becoming an elite closer.
He has 105 saves over the last 3 seasons. 3-2, 1 out. Donaldson not going. Encarnacion strikes out 98 miles an hour. Second strikeout for Britton.
Well, he can make the ball move so hard and so late. That time he was able to get underneath the bat. It looked like that ball cut a little bit on Encarnacion.
So Britton now has matched his season high with an inning and 2/3. Michael Saunders, the batter, lefty on left. Quick meeting with Matt Wieters, the catcher. Saunders singled his last time up against Brad Brock. That was in the 8th inning. Give you an idea of what the Blue Jay hitters have to deal with. You can see that ball moving dramatically, and you can only imagine how much more it's moving when you're in the batter's box.
Yeah. And moving at 88 miles an hour is one thing. This guy's throwing at 98 miles an hour and it's moving.
Ground ball, Scope from the edge of the dirt. Zach Britton with a season-high 2 innings of relief work. We'll go to the 11th. It's a 2-2 game. Brett Cecil into the ball game for the Jays. Coming up next, right after this game, it'll be more baseball as the Red Sox are in Anaheim to take on the Angels. We will join that one in progress on the Sportsnet 1. Boston started play today, 10 games over 500. 2 games back of the front-running Toronto Blue Jays. The Red Sox are in 3rd place in the American League East. New pitcher into the game for the Blue Jays is the lefty, Brett Cecil.
Thought we might see Brett a couple of innings ago when Davis, Trumbo, and Alvarez were coming up. But John Givens holds him back for this situation right here. A couple more lefties coming in. Cecil in 28 games. There are his numbers right there. He's only walked 5 batters, so averaging about a strikeout per inning. You had Kim, the scheduled batter, to lead off. He's going to be pulled back for a pinch hitter.
Nolan Raimo will come up, a right-handed hitter. He'll bat for the left fielder, Hyun-Soo Kim. Kim finishes up 2 for 4 on the afternoon. Raimo started in the game yesterday against Jay Happ, but went 1 for 3. First pitch strike from Cecil. Both these bullpens obviously have pitched very, very well. We are in the 11th. Just 11 hits in the game.
Figured something like that would happen today, didn't we? With these 2 good pitchers starting it off.
2 great starters as Tillman and Sanchez matched up. Tillman went 5 2/3, gave up 2 runs on 5 hits. Aaron Sanchez, 7 innings of 4-hit ball. He gave up 2 runs, both coming in the 7th inning. Raimo has faced Cecil a lot. He's 5 for 15 against Cecil. 1-2. Lays off that breaking ball in the dirt.
I think that's the key pitch right there for Brett. Being able to get that breaking ball over. When he's on, he can throw it early in the count. He can use it as a strikeout pitch. He can use it as a pitch to get back into the count. And be able to throw it for a strike. Looks like it's coming again.
There's a good curveball as Raimo strikes out. That's the first out, top half of the 11th.
He gets that finger on top of the ball. Watch him spin that thing, and he puts it in a good spot. There's not a lot you can do with that pitch where that thing is. It's like a spike curve where that index finger is bent over, and he can really torque it off that middle finger.
The Blue Jays bullpen has 5 strikeouts now. The Orioles bullpen has struck out 4. Manny Machado 0 for 4 this afternoon. Cued off the end of the bat. 2 down. Machado 0 for 5. The big right-hander is Logan Ondrusek, and the other right-hander, number 60, is Michael Givens. You would think Givens would come in if the Orioles should score, and Ondrusek will probably come in a tie game. He threw the ball well against the Blue Jays yesterday. A 1-2-3 inning in the 6th. His first appearance with the Orioles. Chris Davis struck out against Osuna in the 9th.
Tough combination. Breaking ball, strike 1. Elevated fastball, strike 2.
Foul tip. Going back upstairs with the fastball, and Davis got a piece of it to stay alive. And now the Blue Jays certainly in the driver's seat with Chris Davis. They can go upstairs again or drop the curveball on him.
Rip faced him yesterday and struck him out on a curveball.
Curveball looped into center for a base hit. That's the first hit for Davis in the series. And he had a fist pump running up the first baseline.
Just the third hit that he has had against Brett Cecil in his career. Came into that at bat 2 for 20. Throws him a curveball, it's up, and then watch him as he goes out. He knows it's a hit. First one, and yes, got him.
1 for 12 now in this 3-game series. That brings a smile to his face. He knows it's been a struggle. The Blue Jays have pitched him tough. A couple of great hitters right there having a laugh about a 1 for 12. 2 outs. Mark Trumbo. He has a double in 4 at bats this afternoon. Little chopper. Cecil on the third base side of the mound, and the inning is over. Brett Cecil strands a base runner. Bottom of the 11th, 2-2. Worked in the game yesterday, and he was hit hard, and he had some control problems. He came in and walked Troy Tulowitzki with the bases loaded, then gave up a 2-out double to Russell Martin, and he had a rough outing. 2/3 of an inning, and 2 runs on 2 hits, walked better, and struck out 2.
Still, he has 7 wins out of that bullpen. That leads Major League Baseball. Nolan Reimold takes over in left field after he pinch hit for Kim. Gibbons, one of the batters that he faced, is going to be the pinch hitter here in the 11th.
Melvin Upton Jr. will bat in the pitcher's spot. And Upton struck out against Gibbons in that 5th inning yesterday. Makes a big cut. Fly ball into shallow right. Trumbo coming in. He makes the grab, 1 out. So Gibbons now will deal with Russell Martin, who hit that double to the base of the wall in right off of Gibbons yesterday. That was a 2-run double that came as part of that 7-run 5th inning.
Going to be need that same approach against him. Thinking the other way. He's got a good slider.
Well, there's a lot of velocity coming out of this Oriole bullpen.
They are ranked 2nd in baseball. Excuse me, in the American League in relief ERA, just over 3.
Left-hander Franklin Morales is loosening up. Blue Jays have used 4 relief pitchers so far. Martin pops it into the seats. That's a good slider, late flat breaking slider.
Why he is second on the Orioles in strikeouts for relievers, 56 of them. It's a tough combination. Looks like they're going to throw another one right here, another slider. But Russell wasn't ready.
Two and two to Martin. Now it's a full count. Kevin Pillar will be next. Mark walks. That was a problem for Givens in the outing yesterday. He walked the batter, and that was Tulowitzki with the bases loaded.
Kept pulling that fastball off the plate, just like that 3-2 fastball to Russell Martin.
Kevin Pillar. He hit a 2-run double off of Givens yesterday to cap off that big inning.
So no surprise there that he threw him a slider on the first pitch.
'97. That's a tough combination that Givens features. That sweeping slider is a nightmare for right-handed hitters, and then he comes back with a good heater.
That's why I think these kind of guys with the great velocity early in the count look for one of those pitches. I think if you're up there looking for the fastball and he throws you the slider, tough to adjust. Might be better off just taking it early in the count. Make him throw it for a strike.
Ground ball. Second for one, back to first, double play. Michael Givens gets Pillar to bounce into an inning-ending double play, and we're going to go to the 12th.
to attend, make sure that the boss doesn't do it in a boardroom. Have him book one of the Acura luxury suites. You can have your meeting and then take in a ball game like this one here today. The account executives will find the package that best suits your needs. Go to bluejays.com/luxury suites for more information. Buck and Pat, more interesting changes to the Blue Jays lineup.
That's what happens when you play extra innings. A lot of options, and the Blue Jays had to utilize their DH in a defensive position when Tulowitzki had to leave the game. So now Franklin Morales comes in the game to pitch, and he is going to be inserted into the 7th spot in the Blue Jays lineup as Kevin Pillar is out of the game. And BJ Upton, Melvin Upton Jr. takes over in center defensively.
Yeah, Melvin pinch hit for Cecil to lead off that inning, so he will stay in the game. The pitcher spot now goes to Pillar, and this is the first time that we have seen Upton in center field as a Blue Jay.
So for the Orioles, it'll be Alvarez, Wieters, and Schoop, 6, 7, and 8 in their lineup. But Cecil gave up a 2-out single and left the base runner. Interesting, Blue Jays are playing extra innings here on the final day of July, and they started the month the same way. They lost a 2-1 game in 19 innings to Cleveland. Just one of their 7 losses for the month of July.
I remember that.
How can you forget it?
Exactly. That was some kind of grinding day.
Losing pitcher that day for the Blue Jays, Darwin Barney. Carlos Santana hit a home run off Darwin Barney for the difference in the game, a 2-1 ball game. And now Franklin Morales walks the leadoff man here in the 12th.
I never want to see that. You're facing a left-handed batter, and you walk him that quickly to set up the inning.
So now Matt Wieters will turn around and bat right-handed for the first time this afternoon. Wieters is officially 0 for 1. He has walked twice, had a sac fly. And now Morales is going to get a visit from Martin and from Donaldson.
That is Jesse Chavez, who has just gotten up right now after that walk to Alvarez, and Pete Walker is going to go out there. Everybody wants to talk to Franklin Morales now.
This Pete Walker meeting is to give Jesse Chavez just a few more opportunities to throw some pitches down in that pen. Jesse finished up the game yesterday afternoon with a perfect inning in the 9th.
We got 3 tough righties coming up for Baltimore after Matt Wieters. Matt Wieters is switch hitter, so they'd rather have him hit right-handed. He puts the ball down on the ground, better chance to turn double play than 3 tough righties.
Blue Jays have turned 1 double play. That was back in the 4th inning. The Orioles, they've turned a trick 3 times today. They call a balk. Brian O'Neill, the home plate umpire, calls a balk, and John Gibbons is out of the dugout, and he wants to know what O'Neill saw. But O'Neill, the home plate umpire, called balk immediately as soon as Morales made the throw to first.
Usually you see that from the first base umpire, that he didn't step over to first base. But the home plate umpire, Brian O'Neill, called that one right away. Let's see. Did he stop?
Well, I didn't see anything that would indicate a balk, and he called Morales for the step, but it appeared as though he stepped toward first base. But now the go-ahead run is in scoring position with nobody out. Check swing, foul ball off the bat of Matt Wieters.
Matt Wieters has had some great at-bats this afternoon. Had a sacrifice fly that tied the game up in the 7th inning. He had a walk in the 5th and another tough walk against Jason Grilli in the 10th.
Off-speed pitch. Wieters strikes out. Martin goes to first to finish the strikeout. Well, Morales retires Wieters on strikes. Each one of the Blue Jays relievers this afternoon has recorded a strikeout. It's something they didn't have, was that strikeout ability earlier in the season. Now they've got some guys that can come in and rack up some strikeouts.
Yeah, different ways too. You got the heat from Osuna. You got the curveball from Cecil. Benoit's got the splitter. A little bit of everything.
Well, that was a nice play by Martin. That ball looked like it was headed back to the backstop, but Martin did a good job of taking that short hop. Watch how he uses his glove here.
He's anticipating it. Slides to his left and picks it cleanly.
More like a third baseman, of course. He played the infield as a kid. Crowd getting anxious now about the strike zone. That breaking ball appeared to be well off the plate. 2-0 to Schoop. Late on that fastball.
Infield playing deep against Schoop. Just to knock that ball down, keep it on the infield. Look at Darwin Barney at shortstop. He's going to take his regular position, but he's going to be back out on that turf just to knock that ball down.
Base hit to left field. That's going to score a run. Alvarez is around third. He comes in to score, and the Orioles take the lead. The leadoff walk for a second time this afternoon comes in to score, as Jonathan Schoop picks up his 59th RBI of the season.
He has come up with some big hits for the Orioles against the Blue Jays. Morales, slider down and in. You're hoping that he tops it. Hits a ground ball of the third baseman. He gets enough of it, drills it into left field for a hit. No chance to get Alvarez.
3-2 Orioles. Franklin Morales, the 5th Blue Jays reliever to work this afternoon. J.J. Hardy is 0 for 4 so far today.
Morales has been around. He's also spent some time on the disabled list this year for the Blue Jays. They signed him late, right before the season started, and then came up with a left arm fatigue. He's placed on the 60-day DL.
It's off the end of the map. The Blue Jays have been looking for a second lefty all season long. They tried Chad Girardo, Aaron Loup,
Pat Venditti.
Pat Venditti.
Saw him. Franklin Morales.
They've been rumored to be in conversation about Boone Logan. Lefty. Full count, 1 out. Schoop at first base. A run in here in the 12th for the Orioles. Adam Jones, the leadoff man, is on deck. You got to believe they're going to start Schoop here, trying to get Jones to the plate here in the 12th.
Yeah, with a runner in scoring position.
Not running. Ball in the dirt. It bounces up there, and Hardy walks, and here comes John Gibbons. The manager out of the Blue Jays dugout has made the call to the bullpen. Well, Franklin Morales, a couple of walks in the inning, including a leadoff walk to Pedro Alvarez, and Alvarez came around to score. The Orioles have a 3-2 lead. Jesse Chavez in with just 1 out. To work today, makes his 39th appearance. As we mentioned earlier, Jesse had a clean inning in the 9th yesterday, and that 9-1 Blue Jays win.
Yeah, finished that up very cleanly. 38 games this year for Chavez. He's only walked 10 batters all season long. Yesterday, he was throwing bullets right down at the knees. That's what he needs right here. Just 1 out and a couple of runners on.
Adam Jones, the leadoff man. He's 0 for 5 to this point.
He has been a tough out in his career versus Jesse Chavez.
4 for 10 for Jones against Chavez. 1 out. High and deep to left field, and this one is going to go. Adam Jones jumps on the first pitch, and it's a 3-run home run, as the Orioles have scored 4 here in the 12th.
Adam Jones' blast is going to bust this thing open. He wasn't waiting around at all. First pitch swinging. First thing he saw. Told you he's had some good numbers against Jesse Chavez in his career. And he wasn't waiting around. That's 20 home runs now for Jones.
That's his 17th home run here at Rogers Center. That ties him with Chris Davis for the Orioles lead of home runs here at Rogers Center. They both have hit 17, and we mentioned now Blue Jays have done a pretty good job of keeping them quiet so far in this series. First pitch changeup as Jones is all over it.
6 straight seasons now. Adam Jones has had at least 20 home runs for the Orioles. 2 other years he's had 19. What a big hit.
6-2 Baltimore. 2-1 now to Nolan Reimel. Reimel came into the game as a pinch hitter in the top of the 11th. Full count, 1 out. It all started Franklin Morales with the leadoff walk to Pedro Alvarez, and then the balk moved him to second. Wieters struck out and Schoop with an RBI single, and Hardy walked. Bible called out on strike 3. Adam Jones, his 20th home run.
Right on the inner half. You said it. They had done a good job up until that point of shutting him down. Aaron Sanchez was keeping that fastball in on him in his 3 at-bats against him. That time that ball's out over the plate.
2 outs now. Manny Machado, he's gone 0 for 5. He's hit 5 ground balls today.
This is his 400th at bat of the season.
Well, pitchers know when they throw a bad pitch, and watch the catcher's reaction. They too know when they hear that sound.
He wanted that ball away, and it just leaked out over the middle in, and Russell knew it.
Jesse Chavez has had a tough time with inherited runners. He's allowed 15 of his 31 inherited runners to come in and score. He strikes out Machado, but the damage is done. The Orioles score 4 runs in the top half of the 12. Adam Jones with his 20th home run of the season, a 3-run shot. This ball game. There's more baseball right here on Sportsnet 1. They are in the bottom of the 4th in Anaheim. It's a scoreless game. Red Sox and the Angels. So stay tuned for more baseball right after this ball game. Tyler Skaggs has allowed just 2 hits to Boston. Stephen Wright, the knuckleballer, 5 hits over 3 innings, but he has struck out 4.
This is Logan Ondrusek. We just saw him in yesterday's ball game. His first appearance as a Baltimore Oriole. They just got him from the Japan League. He threw an inning. Faced Bautista, Donaldson, and Encarnacion. Had a strikeout, 1-2-3 inning. The big man, 6'8", will come into this one. Ryan Flaherty has taken over in right field for Mark Trumbo. Not a save situation after that home run by Adam Jones. Logan Ondrusek, a fresh arm.
Michael Givens is the pitcher of record for the Orioles. It'll be Travis Barney, and then back to the top of the order. The Blue Jays trail by 4. Evan Travis has an RBI. He's 0 for 4. And an RBI on a fielder's choice in the 2nd. He drove in the first run of this ball game. Blue Jays had a 2-0 lead into the 7th, and then the Orioles scored 2 runs in the 7th, and that has been it until the top half of the 12th. Jonathan Schoop with the go-ahead base hit. An RBI single to left. The looper down the right side. Ryan Flaherty out in right field makes the catch as he took over for Mark Trumbull defensively in right.
All in all, it's been a good month for the Blue Jays as they're going to finish up July after this ball game.
16-8 if they lose this game. Certainly a terrific month as they were able to close ground on the Orioles, and if this score stands, they will fall back into second place, a half game behind Baltimore. There's a drive to left field, but that's going to hang up for Nolan Reimold. 2 down.
When you get ready, you pack your bags, and you're going to head out on the road. First stop, Houston. Blue Jays have had their problems there in the past.
The Blue Jays and the Orioles won't meet again until the end of the month in Baltimore, August 29th, 30th, and 31st. And then the Orioles will be here the final week of September. A 3-game series. The last time these two clubs will meet.
That's the last time that they're going to be here. The last 6 games of the season. 3 against Baltimore, 3 against Boston.
One and 2 now as Andrusek gets ahead of Bautista. Blue Jays will end up on this homestand 5-4. But the good news is over the weekend they started to show signs that the bats are coming around a little bit. They scored 9 runs in yesterday's game on 10 hits. Hit 3 home runs in the first inning on Friday night, but managed just 7 hits in that 6-5 win over the Orioles.
We'll have to check right after the game to see how Tulowitzki is. That's a big loss having to come out of this ball game after getting hit on the hand.
Bautista called out on strikes. That does it. Then the Orioles salvaged the final game of this 3-game series. Big inning in the 12th. Jonathan Schoop with a game-winning RBI and capped off by a 3-run home run off the bat of Adam Jones, his 20th of the season.
They had shut him down for this whole series until that big base hit, that big home run. Chris Tillman did a good job getting them into the 6th inning. Blue Jays have to regroup as they head out on the road. First stop, Houston. 4 big games against the Astros.
Well, the Orioles will retake first place by a half a game. We'll be back with you tomorrow night, Monday night from Houston. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Here's Blue Jays Central. Jamie and Greg, take it away.
Blue Jays kick off on the